world of being a head coach and trying to deal with everybody else. When you think you've got your guy locked in, that would have been a really good hire for Dowell Loggins. I think that's what kind of stinks for him. He would have had an up-and-comer. Zach Arnett had actually been an analyst for Lane Kiffin this past year. He'd been considered kind of an up. Like I said, you looked at his background. Getting a guy like that at Appalachian State might have been really good. Now Dowell Loggins has got to go back to the drawing board. Also yesterday,
sure, he knows some NFL folks that can get him the job.
I can't wait. Tyler, unfortunately, the first time that Dowell Loggins has a fall press conference in August, we may have to get you to record it and see how many times the NFL is referenced when we get back around to Dowell Loggins. Maybe just spring practice.
So I think it's funny because I listened to a little bit of his intro presser at the other day, and
okay.
He sprinkled it in a few times, and I think Press and I actually talked about this maybe the day after or something like that. He's got a whole new crop of people to impress.
That's a good point.
Where, again, it kind of became a running joke. Like, he's going to drop NFL references. And I thought the progression of him going from, like, being player-specific to just being, like, general NFL over his time here at Carolina was funny. But now, whole new crop of media and fans and all that kind of stuff where he can say, yeah, I worked with Jay Cutler, and I worked with Ryan Tannehill, and I was under Adam Gase and all these kind of things. So it's almost like he's kind of resetting it a little bit.
That's a good point. He can use it's like Lou Holtz. Because really, Lou Holtz didn't come up with new material. He just moved it from school to school to school. The pouring of the milk into the newspaper and all the little jokes. And
it was always amazing how when he was on ESPN, I would be able to just telegraph exactly what he was about to say with almost 100% precision. I knew word for word where he was going, especially when they had those speeches, when you do the pregame speech or whatever that was. Oh, yeah, here he comes.
Now, was he the type of person that would, like, forget when he told you guys something and then say it again, like, a week or two later and never told you guys this before? And you're like, yeah, coach.
No, he wasn't that. He wouldn't do that. However, at every turn, he would call somebody on our team somebody from Notre Dame.
Oh, yeah.
Very often. I mean, we played with Jerome Bettis, Tony Rice, Ricky Waters. You would get called an
injunction by a federal judge in Tennessee that says Pavia can pursue another year of eligibility and could represent another significant blow to the NCAA to just try and enforce their own rules, which is why I don't like this at all. But Diego Pavia back, and let me just start with this. I'm pulling against him.
Okay.
I'm pulling against him. And I'm telling you what, he better do this at Vanderbilt. Because if he's trying to Vanderbilt, a well-known NIL funding school, especially football, if he's trying to do this and then hop in the portal, I'm going to dislike this guy very, very much.
I think we're opening up a can of worms. Every time something like this happens, there's a bunch of ramifications, things that we don't think about that come from it. So now you're saying, okay, well, now your junior college years don't count. Okay, well, what's next? FCS? Well, I played at FCS. You can't really get NIL at FCS. Then it's like, well, I played at a group of 5. You can't really get NIL at a group of 5. Well, I played at Purdue. They didn't really have good NIL at Purdue. So now that I'm at Ohio State, I kind of want to reset this. So, again, this is opening up a whole new can of worms in line with the 12 other can of worms we've had in these past couple of years. And this is only the beginning. I'm just saying.
That sound you just heard was all our loyal followers in West Lafayette. Purdue catching a stray from Tyler Head right off the bat to start the morning. But
if we really saw the numbers of NIL in football, I imagine Purdue would be towards the bottom of Power 5.
Yes. But no, I'm glad that, all right, so hot takes abound in the opening segment on this. I'm with you, Tyler. That's why I don't like this. Diego Pavia was a neat little story this year for Vanderbilt. South Carolina kind of finished him off in that game up in November when the Gamecocks knocked him around pretty good throughout the ball game, and that pretty much ended his storyline. If he stays at Vanderbilt, I'll kind of be okay with this. Preston, if he enters the transfer portal, looking for the bag, as the kids like to say these days, trying to secure the bag, I'm going to despise Diego Pavia, and whatever team he ends up at, if it's not Vanderbilt, I will pull against extremely hard throughout the year.
Yeah, that's tough. The man's just trying to make a living, Bill.
It's good. There's a lot of players who came before him who would have loved to make a living, but
can't control the time you were born in.
And
down with the NCAA.
look, this guy's not got a career at the next level.
No, he doesn't. He's smart about that.
He's trying to get his bag while he can. Like, I get it. But again, I think we're really treading on thin ice here because of what could happen in the fallout of this.
Pavia argued in his initial complaint that the NCAA was unfairly limiting his ability to make money by counting his years in junior college, which is governed by a separate organization against his eligibility. So we'll get into that a little bit this morning and discuss that, because I think that is kind of a hot button issue. I've made a hot take. Tyler's made a hot take. We'll see if Preston's ready to go down.
Anytime the NCAA loses, I am all for it.
Okay.
So you know what side I'm on. Get the NCAA out of here judiciously.
Okay. So we'll
losers.
We'll get into that again.
They've been losing for 15 years in court. Get them out of here.
I am interested to see if Pavia instantly goes to the transfer portal. I'll have a little more respect for him and a little more respect for this if he stays at Vanderbilt and stays as Clark Lee's quarterback, because I think I'm following you down a path on Clark Lee, what he's doing there.
It's my guy.
I think I'm following you down a path. So we'll get into a lot of that this morning as we roll along. A lot to get to. I've got some more makeup work that Preston is going to throw at me. We'll get into that a little bit this morning. Also, South Carolina yesterday. Well, they went a portaling. Pretty good day. We'll get into that a little bit this morning. And, well, you know what is a week from yesterday? I wasn't here to discuss it, but Christmas morning, a week from yesterday, Preston, maybe it's time for us to start doing some Christmassy things.
We're here.
We'll get into all that. 803-404-6100. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Tyler Head. It is the early game.
Really? Okay.
All right, a few technical issues this morning, but real quick, you want to talk a little bit about somebody that's important to you. Integrated Media, Preston Thorne, and it's that time of the year.
Listen, man, we've been telling you all this time. Spring, summer, winter. It's here. Christmas season is here. Do you have your outdoor setup ready? It's going to be warm, I've heard, even though it's going to get cold. I don't know what the weather's going to be doing, but it's warm enough now where you could be sitting outside hanging out with your folks from Integrated Media. So you can get Samsung Terrace TVs that are waterproof. You can get Sonos outdoor speakers for TV and music. You can get Wi-Fi that works indoors and out. So call the folks from Integrated Media and get yourself set up. It's not too late. When the folks from Integrated Media come through, they'll set up everything that you need. And they'll do my personal favor, set your house up so that you can control all your devices from just one remote. So from home theater setup to adjusting your thermostat or monitoring your security systems from your cell phone, Integrated Media is the company that you need to call. So call Nathan and Michael at 803-948-8327. That's 803-948-8327. Or reach them online at integratedmediainc.com.
And Preston, I tell you what, there's probably no better time than to have them out there than this weekend. Little test run. Make sure you have multiple TVs. You got the FCS playoffs taking place. You got the FBS playoffs taking place. Yeah, couple TVs out there. Integrated Media can come out and take care of that. And that would be a great time as this weekend we get set. One bowl matchup tonight. One bowl game tonight. Georgia Southern and Sam Houston. It is the RL Carriers New Orleans Bowl. Don't think that's going to draw your attention, is it? That's probably not going to be one that.
No.
But tomorrow night, how about tomorrow night? Maybe or tomorrow actually gets going at noon tomorrow. Ohio and Jacksonville State in the Staff DNA Cure Bowl. Maybe okay. Maybe that's not your thing. Maybe you want to see Billy Napier tomorrow, 3:30. How about Tulane and Florida in the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl? Preston Thorne, the Union Home Mortgage Gasparilla Bowl down there at Raymond James Stadium in Tampa. Tulane in Florida?
I'll pass.
Okay.
I'll pass. It's sort of like when you go to the buffet and you're looking at the food and they're like, here, you can have this first appetizer. I'm like, nah, I'm gonna save myself for the meal.
The meal would be tomorrow night, Indiana and Notre Dame. That game's set for 8 o'clock, the very first ever college football playoff game. According to ESPN Bet, Notre Dame right now a 7-point favorite in that ball game. And you said you've already seen AI-generated Indiana fans having a good time with Touchdown Jesus?
Yeah, they had Touchdown Jesus in a cut-off Indiana jersey, sprayed and tattered. And we're back.
We'll be right back after this break.
Hi, this is Lisa Hostetler-Brown. If you or a loved one are over 65 and haven't completed a long-term care planning consultation, now is the time. Did you know that if you aren't able to afford the high cost of skilled care, your assets can be rapidly depleted to only $2,000 unless you plan 5 years in advance? Visit lawyerlisa.com to see how we can help.
7511 St. Andrews Road, Irmo, South Carolina.
Open enrollment is going on now, but not for long. Don't risk going uninsured in 2025. South Carolina Blue is here for you. Visit scbluehereforyou.com to schedule an appointment at the South Carolina Blue Retail Center on Bauer Parkway in Columbia. Giovanni and her team of experts can help you find a health plan that fits you and your budget. Open enrollment is ending, so schedule your no-cost appointment today at scbluehereforyou.com.
Pedale Wine Pool and Spa is the place for all things swimming pool and hot tub. Need a new vinyl liner? This is the perfect time of year to have your faded or worn out liner replaced. Call or come see us to repair, replace, or upgrade your existing equipment. Want to cover your pool to keep out all those fall leaves? A new safety cover is the answer, and it's safe for the kids and pets. That's Pedale Wine Pool and Spa, 5541 Sunset Boulevard. You'll find us on Facebook or online at PedaleWinePools.com.
This is Mark Benoit with Garnet Trust. We are on a mission to add 1,000 new members by December 31st. You can sign up today at garnettrust.com. For as little as $10 a month, you can make a difference on South Carolina's roster. Go Gamecocks.
Today's Holla Deal is from the Midlands YMCA. Log on to 1075thegame.com to get a 6-month family or individual membership with access to any of the 5 Midlands YMCA for half off. Only at the Y, where everyone belongs.
Are you a last-minute Larry? You know, the guy who is known for months that Christmas is coming, but you still haven't done your shopping yet. Fortunately, at Traditions Fine Jewelers, we specialize in helping last-minute Larrys navigate the Christmas shopping challenge. Our knowledgeable
All right, let's take a look at your traffic and weather for your ride-in on this Thursday morning. So far, things looking pretty good out there on the roadways as everybody's still getting up and getting rolling, so I'm sure it'll get busy as the morning rolls along. Currently now sitting about 53 degrees in downtown Columbia. A little bit of fog, so be careful as you make your way out to the roads this morning. That's traffic and weather here in the early game.
All right, up and running. Tyler had learning. The morning can be a little intense right off the bat.
Listen, this is only supposed to happen when Jen's here. Yeah. When I come in at 9 o'clock, everything's supposed to be in working order, and I'm not supposed to have any issues for the rest of the day. But opening things up, I've learned a lot this morning in the past 20 minutes that I didn't know.
You navigated it very well, and we got through it. So
I'm glad my microphone wasn't on for a few of those minutes.
I was.
We would have gotten in trouble.
Yeah. But Tyler's got us through. He's got us up and running. We're ready to get you through. If you didn't catch some of that first segment, if there was any issues out there, which to my knowledge there was not, because a good friend of the program, Kevin Hurd, who is a Purdue fan, just sent me a text and said boiler up.
Okay. Hey, look, listen. I'm not discrediting Purdue. We're talking about NIL resources. They probably are not towards the top in college football. That's all I'm saying.
Just
basketball's a different story, probably.
Strays out there to the West Lafayette and the Boilermakers this morning. But, a lot going on here. We'll get to a lot of it. The Mike Shula press conference from yesterday, Shane Beamer talking. We do get the official word. Cal Kennard officially out for the bowl game. Not a big shock, and quite frankly, not something that people should be upset about, Preston.
No, not a big shock at all. He's obviously positioning himself for the NFL. He came to South Carolina and with a mission, and I would say mission accomplished. I feel like it's a fair trade for what he's given the university, what he gave the football team, and so he's on to his next stop.
And that'll open the door for guys like a Desmond Zulu, Jatius JT Gear. That'll open the door for a guy like Brian Thomas to get legit snaps in a bowl game and kind of prep themselves maybe for next year to see what they can do. I'd have to check Gilbert Edmonds' official roster status because, quite frankly, at this point, Preston, who knows? Gilbert Edmonds might argue that Florida State is not considered an FBS program right now. That 1 year should not count that he spent down there in Tallahassee, but we'll have to break it down and get a good look at what all the roster status is coming up probably around January 2nd and see who is back and who isn't, move forward from there. But you got some makeup work that was discussed yesterday.
Bill, I don't know if you heard, but there was a huge basketball game, and you being our resident basketball guy, we needed your commentary on that. So going back on what happened in the CLA 2 nights ago, let's start. What is your thoughts on the big win versus Clemson?
Let's start with this, and some of this has been on air. Some of this has been off air with you and I here in the studio where I have talked about it. It just doesn't seem like the players have connected or gelled. That doesn't mean that they're angry at each other or they're bad teammates or that they're not friendly. It seemed discombobulated, disjointed. The first thing right off the bat, it seemed like they were all on the same page. It seemed right. It felt right. I don't know how to explain that, Preston. I don't know as a player if you've ever had that experience where you've played games and you just go, man, we're winning, but it doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like we're all together. It seemed like that was the first time this year I've watched a Lamont Paris coached basketball team, because even in the opening season where they didn't win, we could see kind of what he was trying to accomplish. He just didn't have the pieces to make it work. And last year it came together, and it felt like this year it felt like I would see more frustration from him on the sidelines as things were happening. But the first thing that stood out to me on Tuesday night was the fact that it seemed to click. That was the basketball team or the effort that we had been looking for from the game, because that's number one. And I don't know if you caught that as well. I know you hadn't watched quite as much as I have, but I don't know if you felt that as well, watching them and just seeing what appeared to be a connected unit, understanding their roles and playing together.
Well, there was a spirit about the game. There was a spirit about the way they were playing, and I think they rose up to the challenge. And, yes, you could feel – I always go back to the feeling. You can't quantify these things, so there's no metrics for this. But when you're watching the team, does it look like they are having fun playing the game? And you can see during that game, it felt as if they all knew what they were doing. They had a sense of purpose, a sense of mission, and every play seemed to have a direction to it. It wasn't just one-on-one ball or we're just going through the motions of running whatever our offense is. They felt like they were playing towards a purpose.
Individually, Colin Murray Boyles is that guy. He is that guy, and you saw it on Tuesday night, 22 points for him, 9 rebounds. But more importantly to me, and I don't know if you got into the fart analytics.
Of course we did, Bill.
Okay. So, Colin Murray Boyles, 6 free throws made, 6 free throws attempted. Not only that, he had 4 assists in this game. We just mentioned the 9 rebounds, 3 of which were offensive. 3 turnovers, okay, but he also had 2 blocks and a steal, did end up fouling out, but he filled up the stat sheet. He did what a star does. He scored, he rebounded, he passed the ball, and even manipulated the offense a little bit. He was a defender down low with 2 blocks. He even got himself a steal. That was the first thing that stood out. I went, wow, he really filled up that stat sheet on Tuesday night, having to constantly, whoever was keeping the check marks going, oh, another check mark, put it here. That stood out to me. The next guy that really stood out to me, I think you're getting what you want from Nick Pringle. 18 points, which is, I'm never really thinking that he needs to come in and score that many points. He only grabbed 4 rebounds. That was a little bit of, I don't want to say disappointment, but you also saw him foul out there with 5. But again, I felt like those 2 guys set the mentality and the tone for the game.
What's the technical reason why we can't get one more foul in overtime?
There is none. It's never happened, I don't think.
Why don't if you can have a magic batter, I think we should get an extra foul in overtime.
I'm sure that coaches would argue for that. That would make sense.
I just feel like we play. Yes, I had 5 fouls for a game, but now we're playing more game. So I need more fouls.
Yeah.
Just one. Or maybe you can designate, you get 1 foul for the whole team. Are we going to give it to Colin Murray Boyles? Are we going to give it to Nick Pringle? One of your persons with 4 fouls gets the foul. Well, I'm just saying.
It's worth discussing, I
And
guess.
also, was it a block or a charge?
I thought it was a charge.
Okay.
I thought it was a charge.
Okay.
That's me. 803-404-6100. Also, Miles Studi, 5 of 7 from 3-point range. I thought that was obviously huge. I mean, not to. There is one other thing I want to get to. We got to hit a break, but there is one other thing, big picture thing I want to get to that is just, it's becoming mind blowing. Preston, and I don't know where to go with it, but what occurred on Tuesday night, not just here in Columbia, but it also occurred up in Charlotte in a neutral site game between Florida and North Carolina. I want to circle back to that when we come back. You're listening to Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Tyler Head. It is the early game.
Press here for our friends at Absolute Glass, the premier glass company of the Midlands, offering auto, home, and business glass repair. So if your glass is damaged, shattered, cracked, or broken, they can handle the job. If it's a cracked windshield, that's no problem. They'll come out to your location and replace it for you, usually for free, and they work directly with the insurance company to take away the headache. That's right. They'll come out to wherever you are. School, home, work, it does not matter. Absolute Glass will take care of the job for you. Now, if you're at home and you're looking to increase the value of your home with new windows and mirrors, Absolute Glass will take care of that for you too. Windows, mirrors, shower enclosures. Say it all the time. If you can see through it, Ray and Marianne at Absolute Glass can do it. So check them out online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com. That's online at AbsoluteGlassInc.com.
All right, let's take a look at your traffic and weather once again for your ride in on this Thursday morning. Again, things not too active out there on the roadways as of right now. Do have an accident that's popped up at Atlas Road and Shop Road. Be careful as you're making your way through that area. Another accident, this one out at Broad River Road and Kinley Road, just off of the interstate as well. For the most part, the major roadways looking okay for right now. It is currently 55 degrees in downtown Columbia. High today is going to get up to 60, 58 tomorrow, 50 on Saturday, 44 on Sunday as we get closer and closer to Christmas. That's your traffic and weather on the early game.
.35 as we roll along here on a Thursday morning off air. Preston and I were just discussing it. This is about it for most of the kids out there, kind of like the final day. I know that Friday is still available, but at least for my two out in Lexington, I think it's a half day, so they're going to make this their final day. And Preston, for teachers, it's basically just find a Christmas movie, some coloring books. All right, kids, don't set the classroom on fire.
Yeah, it's always a tough situation because, like, as much as you want to do nothing, kids cannot handle that, and they end up doing something stupid.
Well, Preston, let me tell you, the kids checked out before the week started.
Oh, for sure. But you have to figure out a way to just move them along.
Like, all right, we all got to be here. Let's make something happen. We can't sit here and do nothing.
Correct. We can't do nothing, but don't do something stupid.
Well, teachers, I tell you what you can do if you want to kind of keep them entertained today. Starting at 11:30, we'll have the pregame show for the women's basketball game against Charleston Southern, and then coming up at noon, right here, 107.5, the game, we will have the women's game against Charleston Southern. So maybe you can just flip on the Alexa there in the classroom or pull up the internet, listen on our app, whatever, and you can just have the kids listen to the women's game against Charleston Southern. That should keep them pretty tame and chill, I think.
You can have them doing some math as far as score differential.
Yeah.
Depending on what level are you working with. I don't know if your kids will be able to count that high. Like if you're in pre-K or first grade, they might not be able to count to 60, 70, the difference between the scores. It's 112 to 23. Can you count to 100 kids? Let's count to 100.
I was going to say, this could border on a bludgeoning. It might not be safe for children to listen to.
Hey, they all need to learn at some point. But so, yeah, you can catch that right here at noon. Or you can go down. You can go down and hang out and catch the game in person and enjoy a little bit of basketball. Again, that is 12 noon today, the women's team taking on Charleston
Southern. We'll have some tickets to give away as well.
Okay.
Coming up here in a few minutes.
All righty. Tyler Head in charge of giving away tickets, and we'll do that as well. 803-404-6100. We'll do that coming up to start the next segment for you and make that real quick, and then we'll move on to some transfer portal stuff. But to wrap up final thoughts, and we might actually, we got kind of an open show today. I am stunned at the dominance, Tyler and Preston, the dominance of the SEC over the ACC in basketball. I don't know if we ever saw something like this coming. I believe it is now 30-4. I believe it was 28-4, I believe was the number going into Tuesday night, and Florida beat North Carolina in Charlotte in a neutral site game. We know what happened here at Colonial Life Arena. The SEC and the SEC ACC Challenge went 14-2. South Carolina this year is 3-0 against the ACC in basketball. You kind of brought it up, I think, Tuesday, asking about being an elite conference, maybe the best basketball conference in the country, and they are. The SEC is. But I am stunned at the level of dominance the SEC has had over the ACC in basketball this year.
Yeah, and it seems like it's dominant at every level. The top teams are better than their best teams. The mid teams are better than their middle teams, and everywhere. Obviously, there's been dominance. It's just interesting, as I said on Tuesday, to try and recalibrate my brain to saying, oh, ACC's the basketball conference. Well, no, they're not anymore. Not at least this year. And I don't know if it's for the foreseeable future, because when the SEC makes their mind up to do something, namely invest, namely with money, they usually get it done. You've seen this happen, obviously, with football, seen it happen with baseball, and now basketball's next.
Yeah, it's South Carolina's win again in overtime. I don't know. South Carolina 8-3. And by the way, to kind of wrap that up, hey, they've quietly gone on a huge winning streak here, and that was the marquee victory that you needed to kind of bolster the non-conference resume. Let's see where they go, because now you're gonna get Radford, you're gonna get Presbyterian, and you should get to double-digit wins. That was big in double-digit non-conference wins, 10-3, and then you open with that kind of murderer's row there with 4 of the first 6 against top 15 opponents, number 6 Alabama, number 2 Auburn, number 14 Oklahoma, number 7 Florida. Really only one of those a road game, though, and that is number 14 Oklahoma. But Preston, that win on Tuesday night, I keep wanting to say Saturday because I was off yesterday, but that win on Tuesday night, it sets you up for us to maybe have some minor discussions early on about, are we staring at bracketology? Are we getting back into it? We'll see. We'll see. So a big win there. 803-404-6100, how you can weigh in. Transfer portal Thursday. And South Carolina went a portaling yesterday.
They did. They portaled and they got portaled also. So, it goes both ways. You can portal and you can get portaled. I guess famously, I don't know if it's more important that the portals that they brought in or that South Carolina joins the early crew of people who were portaled by Bill Belichick. And Connor Cox is signed with North Carolina. I don't know what that means. Does it mean anything? Does it mean something? Does anybody care? I think it's interesting, though, at least.
I think it qualifies as a healthy transfer.
I forgot I had the health meter on the transfer.
That's Wes Mitchell's coin term there. Where
Wes has a lot of coin terms.
He does.
Self-shirt. Healthy transfer.
And that's one, because, again, everybody loses guys to the transfer portal. And look at Connor Cox, wasn't somebody that had a lot of production here at South Carolina. So, okay, I don't think you view that as a huge loss. And maybe Bill Belichick finds the secret in him and he goes there and is productive up in Chapel Hill. But I don't think anybody is, too concerned about losing him necessarily, other than a depth standpoint.
This is not a Bill Belichick segment. However, just from looking what he's done so far in the portal, it seems as if he's going with the same strategy of, I can find guys that nobody else wants and trying to make them into players. And I'm here to tell you, but that's not going to work in college football. And I'm very curious to see how this goes.
You don't think he's looking at the North Carolina lacrosse team like, it's a national championship football team right there. Let's make this happen.
I feel like he's going through a similar strategy that he tried to employ with the Patriots, but he doesn't have Tom Brady to back him up.
Listen, we got a kicker out of high school and turned him into an elite wide receiver. Don't ask me how. We just did it. It's true.
So, in a roundabout way, there is a player in the transfer portal that I happen to kind of know, and Bill Belichick has reached out to him.
Personally?
I know the family.
Oh, man, I want this story.
I know the family, and the family is...
we are looking to get you in the portal.
And the player was already in the portal, but Belichick, he's not a South Carolina player, by the way. No relation to South Carolina, but know the family. But the pitch that Belichick made is, I wonder if it's going to work. Because when Bill Belichick, does it matter to a 20-year-old? Now, let's remember, when was the last success of the Patriots and Tom Brady and Belichick?
2018 season.
Okay.
Yeah.
How old were, let's just median, about 20-year-olds. I mean, 18, if you're doing 18, that's going back to being 11 or 12. If you're doing 20-year-olds, you're going back to 13, 14. Does Bill Belichick's name still have the cachet when Bill Belichick calls you and goes, hey, I see what you've got, the ability you've got. I can make you an NFL stud. Does it still work if Brian Kelly or if Mike Elko or if Kalen DeBoer or if schools like that are saying the same thing? Does Bill Belichick's voice still resonate with now, again, I'll go mid-20-year, with a 20-year-old?
Does that voice come with a nice check?
Well, that comes from North Carolina. North Carolina's at least up their NIL game, but it's still behind what everybody else is doing. You're not going to go out there and compete. Look, we just talked about basketball. When the SEC sets their mind to it financially, they become a bear. You're still LSU, Mississippi, Texas A&M. You're still playing behind them on the NIL game.
True.
I just want to hear what his pitch is.
It basically was, I'm Bill Belichick, and I think you're a stud. I think you can come in, and I can turn you into an NFL player. It's similar to what I felt like I heard was the Steve Spurrier pitch.
It's interesting. I'll just say Bill Belichick's evaluations towards the end of his New England Patriots run were poor.
Yeah. 803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number one. It's the early game. $6.49, and let's give you a chance to win. We're going to give away 2 pairs of tickets, right? All right, 2 pairs of tickets. I'm going to really make it tough on Tyler. He's had an easy morning, Preston.
Tyler.
Listen, taking phone calls to give away tickets will be the easiest thing I've done today so far.
Callers 4 and 6. 4 and 6. 803-404-6100. We're giving you tickets to the women's game today. It's at noon. It is at noon. Let me reiterate. This game is at noon. So if you're calling to win the tickets today, we will try to not give your name on air so that your boss realizes you're skipping out early. But callers 4 and 6, 803-404-6100. You can win a pair of tickets to South Carolina and Charleston Southern today. Women's game, again, we'll have coverage for you. Pregame starts at 11:30. Tip-off slated for 12 o'clock. But 803-404-6100, you can win a pair of tickets to today's South Carolina Charleston Southern basketball game, noon, over at Colonial Life Arena. Call in now, 803-404-6100, how you can do that and win a pair of tickets for today's game. All right. It's the holiday season. We gotta do a little. I know yesterday somewhere along the line, just because I got a text message, but you guys went down a Pop-Tart.
No, we didn't go down a Pop-Tart path. We were talking in context of the Pop-Tart Bowl ascending to the top of the bowls and them now having a fully functional trophy in which you can pop the tarts and you can toast them.
Okay.
And so we went on a path. And so very quickly, Bill, give us your Pop-Tart. First off, how do you eat them? Out the pack or toasted or frozen, as I learned yesterday?
Not frozen.
Okay.
Not frozen. It's either out the pack. It depends. It depends if it's like a strawberry or if it's like a fruity kind of one. It's just out the pack.
So do you go fruity or
Depends, because I tell you what, the s'mores Pop-Tart, that's a post-meal dessert.
Somebody yesterday went in with, they take the s'mores, toast it, and then they put butter on it. So that was another route that we went yesterday. So we wasn't on the path. We were talking about the Pop-Tarts Bowl, and all the folks came in. But today, since we are 6 days in, which, hey, get it going, you out there, whoever you are, whatever you need to do, you need to get it going, because we are firmly within, I would say this is the red zone of Christmas. Not the high red zone, but we're there. We're there. So whatever you need to do, I don't know what plans you need to make, the food you need to get, the presents you need to wrap, whatever you need to do, we are and it sneaks up on you every time. But here we go. Start bench cut. CFP edition. Holidays. We got two sides of this bracket. We got Christmas versus Christmas Eve, New Year's versus New Year's Eve. Who's the winner? You can go 1 through 4. 4 major holidays of this time period. Major. Obviously, there's others. Shout out to my Jewish brothers and sisters. Christmas, Christmas Eve, New Year's, New Year's Eve. Rank them 1 to 4. Go.
Christmas, New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve, and New Year's Day.
Solid. Tyler?
Yeah, I'd probably agree with Bill exactly on that. Like, once you get to New Year's Day, it's the day, the year started. Yeah, you got the football that day, but there's nothing like, I guess, special once you're in the day. It's about leading up to it and the ball dropping or the fireworks or whatever. But yeah, I'd say I agree with that.
Yeah. New Year's Day is just. We've also changed some of the football and how we do the football on New Year's Day. But yeah, New Year's Day is just an odd, like, you could be one of those people that gets all sentimental and be like, the new year and I got to do new stuff and look at me, I got to lose weight and eat better. Or you could be that person that's like, man, I got to go back to work tomorrow. Because I think New Year's Day is on a Thursday, if I'm right.
No, it'll be a Wednesday. Christmas and New Year's will always be on the same day. So both are on Wednesdays. So short 2-day work week after that.
Okay, you're right. So it Wednesday. So yeah, you might be looking at being like, or maybe you're taking the rest of the week off. And if you're taking the rest of the week off, then New Year's Day is kind of irrelevant because now it's just lumped in 2 days off.
It's that we're also in that weird time frame where, like, once you get to like Christmas Eve, days of the week don't mean anything anymore. It just becomes like, well, today's the 26th, today's the 29th. Until you get into that first full week of January, then you reset, okay, today's Monday, Tuesday. For then it's like, okay, 27th, 28th, 30th, whatever.
That's the favorite time of the year.
Exactly. So, days of the weeks don't matter anymore.
803-404-6100. Let's give me your seedings for the 4 major holidays in honor of the CFP. Christmas, Christmas Eve, New Year's, New Year's Eve. Seed them in the CF, the early game Christmas holiday tournament. holiday tournament. Because I feel like saying the Christmas tournament already gives it a little bit of bias.
The holiday playoff.
The holiday playoff. Early game holiday playoff.
I think the 1-4 between Christmas and New Year's Day is going to be a blowout. Personally,
think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm with you on that. Fun one to watch.
Yeah, Christmas Day is. Look, Christmas Day is Christmas Day. It's hard to be beat. New Year's Eve. Yeah, Christmas Eve is a little formal. It depends on how you do it. Everybody out there is gonna have. But Christmas Eve, I always feel like it's formal. It's a formal dinner. It's a formal. Maybe you're going to church.
It's
formal. It's a little more formal. You feel like you got to have some nice corduroys and a nice sweater on and.
If you want to wear your pajamas all day on Christmas, nobody's going to bat an eye at you.
New Year's Eve is just you wake up and you're like, start the mimosas. And by the way, we will be here for you to start the mimosas on New Year's Eve. 7 a.m., Preston and myself, I believe Jen, we will get you going 7 to 10. We'll turn it over to Tyler at about 10 o'clock on New Year's Eve for the start of our Gamecock Game Day. So we'll tell you more about that as we get closer. Hour 2 on the way.
And let's take another look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Thursday morning. Still working those same accidents from a little bit earlier. One of those out at Broad River Road and Kinley Road. Be careful as you're making your way through there. And the other one on the south side of town out there at Atlas Road and Shop Road. Other than that, everything looking pretty okay for the roadways in so far this morning. Taking a peek at the weather now. Still about 55 degrees here in downtown Columbia. Fog was a pretty heavy when it came in, so be careful as you're out there, as it's been a problem these past couple days. 58 the high tomorrow, high Saturday 50, and then 44 on Sunday. That's traffic and weather in the early game.
$7 a.m. as we get you up and get you going here on your Thursday morning. Preston Thorne, Tyler Head, Bill Gunner. Tyler filling in for Jen. He will carry us through tomorrow morning, which, Tyler, we hope at 6 a.m. tomorrow morning you come in and the studio's more prepped and prepared for you.
Let's have just a tame, normal Friday. How about that? It's been a day, and it's only 7 a.m.
This is like, I feel like Preston's fault for that. I think Preston wanted to test you out a little bit, wanted to test your skills.
You got to throw him in the fire, man.
That's right.
You got to throw him in the fire.
You learn by getting burned sometimes,
exactly.
and I'm covered in burns right now.
Also, if you're trying to call in, we got a little issue with the phone lines. We will get them fixed, and we will keep you updated. If you've been trying to call this morning, we will get to that. We will get that fixed for you as well. But we're rolling along here, and I think I'm ready to make a very maybe content. I think people are going to agree with me on this. In the previous segment, Preston Thorne put out there, rank in order 1 through 4. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. Put them in order. It's our seedings, our holiday season seedings. KT from Lexington. He went with Christmas Eve at 1, Christmas Day at 2, New Year's Eve at 3, New Year's Day at 4.
I can dig it.
Richard went Christmas Eve, Christmas, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve. And then David got me thinking here. He said New Year's Eve when I was in my 20s, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Day. So I started thinking about this during the break. I went Christmas Day, New Year's Eve 1, 2, Christmas Eve, New Year's Day. I am now prepared, after thinking this back through, to move New Year's Eve to number 4.
Okay, a reseeding.
I think the more I've thought about this, as you're younger,
yeah,
Tyler's younger.
Yeah.
He still gets out there and parties it up.
I'm not the party type, but sure.
Preston and I a little bit older. I feel like there's pressure to do something big on New Year's Eve. Then there's pressure to make it to midnight for the ball dropping, to which we've now seen 41 of those in our lifetime. I'm starting to. New Year's Eve, I'm starting to think very over. New Year's Eve is the most overrated holiday on the holiday calendar.
Now
is where I'm going with this. New Year's Eve is the most we end the year with the most overrated day on the calendar. I think as you get older, I think there's pressure.
Sure.
There's pressure. You're like, I gotta do something. I gotta have the silly glasses. I gotta have a silly hat. I gotta have confetti. Oh, do we have the champagne? We got the good champagne. We got the bad champagne. Well, do we have the champagne glasses? Now you're going like, well, now I gotta stay up till midnight. We gotta stay up till midnight. I gotta have somebody to kiss. We gotta have somebody to kiss. Oh my goodness, what are we gonna? Now there's football on, but and then I think there's people who have been like, you know what? It's too much. I'm just gonna sit at the house. I'm gonna watch football, and then I'm going to bed at 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Also, people like Jen, they hate the fireworks because they have the dogs.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
They have the dogs. The dogs go crazy.
New Year's Eve is like the funniest holiday to me because there's the anticipation. All right, hey, midnight's coming up. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, fireworks going off. And then it's just like, all right, I guess I'll go to bed now. And it just kind of ends like that, which I guess you can, if you're at a party or something, it lasts a little bit longer. Not usually my speed there, but once the clock hits midnight, it's like, okay, see what I need to see. I don't need to stay up until 3 a.m. to watch Post Malone performing California on the Ryan Seacrest show. I'm good.
You're right. That's what I'm saying. After thinking about it, after taking the break to think about it.
I knew my life had changed when one New Year's Eve, my now wife, and I think we might have been married at the time, where we thoroughly enjoyed an evening with Pitbull on New Year's Eve, and
he's Mr. Worldwide.
It was phenomenal. We were like, is this Pitbull on New Year's Eve? Are we liking this? Are we enjoying this? And it was perfect New Year's Eve music. It was phenomenal. We were at home. We got to watch Pitbull say "Dale" over and over and over again. It was fantastic. Bill, this might be a development. I'm interested to hear what the people say.
Is New Year's Eve the most overrated holiday? And I guess holiday, but what do we want to call it? Some people it's not a holiday. We're working New Year's Eve.
Calendar day,
yeah.
Celebration.
Yeah.
The more I think about last year, to kind of go to that point, Lauren and I were in West Palm Beach for J.C. Sherbert's wedding, and the wedding was on the 30th. Well, being the party goer that I am, and just a fan of weddings in general, I overdid it at the wedding. So the 31st, we stayed in the hotel room all day, like didn't leave, ordered food and had it. And we watched kind of similar to what y'all were talking about. I think we watched like a Nashville rocking New Year's Eve. I can't remember. What is it? It's the singer, the girl singer who's always in trouble for drinking way too much. It's Schneider's. David, what's the former David, Schneider. What's
Rob Schneider's daughter?
Rob Schneider's daughter, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Once you, like, she was hammered and trying to host a New Year's Eve thing, and it wasn't going well, and they did have, like, Leonard Skinner, and there was some good stuff to it, but, yeah, like, and it was just like, what are we doing here? Our New Year's Eve was last night. And it's now got me thinking.
Yeah.
And a lot of you are weighing in. Ryan weighs in. I 100% agree with Bill on this. Texter taking an unfair shot at Indiana. New Year's Eve is almost as overrated as Indiana. Let's maybe get that in there.
I wouldn't enjoy New Year's Eve and New Year's Day as much if there wasn't football on, to be honest with you. If it was just purely the holiday itself, But, like, the fact that it does kind of revolve around college football in a lot of ways, like, that's where my enjoyment of it comes in. Like, hey, tomorrow, Rose Bowl, Sugar Bowl, whatever. Okay. You know, New Year's Eve, we're going to get, I think the Fiesta Bowl is one of the first playoff games. Like, that's what I look forward to on those days. The holiday stuff itself, I'm like, it's okay, but it's not my bag necessarily.
To answer to go with your question, Wednesday, January the 1st, you'll have Arizona State in the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl. They will be hosting they'll be playing either Texas or Clemson. That'll be at 1 o'clock. At 5 o'clock, the granddaddy of them all, the Rose Bowl on January 1st. Oregon will be playing in that game. And then Georgia will play in the All-State Sugar Bowl at 8:45 that night. So that's your 3 games.
Can I have a quick tangent here? The Rose Bowl's 2 p.m. local kick screws everything up for the schedule of that day, because the Sugar Bowl does not kick off till like 9:15.
Yeah.
So if you're staying up for that, like last year with Washington and Texas, it's going to go to like 1 a.m. Most of us have work the next day. Rose Bowl, move your start time up like everybody else does. Have a formal 4 p.m. kick Eastern time. That way the Sugar Bowl can kick at 8 o'clock, and we can all go to bed at a decent time.
Now, let me tell you, man,
Random.
we aren't getting anything past these Rose Bowl people. They are the most pretentious sports people in America.
Well, every time they restructure things, the playoff, the BCS, whatever, it's always the Rose Bowl. They're always the last one to fall in line to conform with. We got to have it on New Year's Day. It's got to be a 2 o'clock kick, the Tournament of Roses parade, and all that kind of stuff. Everybody else has moved around. Do it. It's fine. Kick it an hour early. It's not going to kill you.
You know what, though? While everything you said is 100% accurate, and I agree, Rose Bowl probably has moved up my bucket list of and it's because of everything that you just said that is so tradition to them. Like, I'm angry at myself because of that tradition, and I'm like, I need to go experience that one time.
If you went to the Rose Bowl, would it ruin it for you if it kicked off an hour earlier?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
The sun is still going to set as the game is going along.
I don't know about that. I don't know what's going to happen. I got to see this. I got to see the Tournament of Roses.
Tyler, you obviously didn't see J.J. McCarthy catch that ball with one hand as the sun set behind those mountains last year in the greatest Rose Bowl maybe ever.
Listen, man, I'm just trying to go to bed at a decent time.
But J.J. McCarthy in the sunset, it was dusk. It was perfect. It's the most beautiful thing I've seen on a football field in a long
So it would have
time.
ruined it for you if the sun was a little bit higher in the sky.
Wouldn't have worked. He might have dropped it. Shadows might have been not right. Everything was
You know
perfect
what?
for that moment.
How about a 4:15 kick? Are we good with that?
No.
45 minutes difference, please.
No, maybe 30 minutes, but no. 803-404-6100. A couple texters weighing in. New Year's Eve is the most pretentious holiday ever. Super Bowl. Ooh, that's a good take. I like that. Super Bowl is a better holiday, and it's not even a holiday.
Yeah, but Super Bowl's P4 division. It should be in the majors, but I hear you. But we're right here right now.
Ronnie.
All BCS. We haven't done the expanded edition yet. We're just BCS 4 right here.
Ronnie goes with number 1, New Year's Day. Number 2, Christmas Day. Number 3, Christmas Eve. Number 4, New Year's Eve. So yeah, I think that most people are on board with me. Of course, at 7:10 a.m., two things are occurring here. One, the majority of you out there listening are in Preston and I's age range, and you're taking kids to school right now. So your New Year's is probably not the same as it was 20 years ago. Tyler's age range right now is still probably a little. You got either young kids, you're on the verge of having kids, or you
committed to a life.
Yeah.
Right? So, yeah, if you're in that age bracket and you don't have kids and you're not even on the verge of having kids, New Year's Eve might be your day. That's your time. Right? Yeah. Short of 30, and you don't have either one of those things happening for you, New Year's Eve, let's go.
Yeah, New Year's Eve, like, I'll be honest, we haven't even gotten through Christmas Eve and Christmas Day.
If you're 29 to 30 with no kids, New Year's Eve should be your number one. Absolutely. Should be your number one. Put all that other stuff aside. You should be going for it.
I disagree with you. I disagree with you, and here's why. Because I feel like the younger group, Halloween. Because you dress up and it's more fun.
I'm talking about out of this 4, right?
Oh, out of this 4?
I'm talking about we're right here.
Okay.
We're right here. We're right in this 4.
Gotcha.
New Year's Eve should be your thing.
But this is where I'll still go back to New Year's Eve is the most overrated holiday or celebration day in the 365-day calendar.
It's fair. It's a take.
Again, a reminder, we'll actually be working on that day. We will be getting you ready because at 3 o'clock on New Year's Eve, South Carolina and Illinois will kick it off down at the Citrus Bowl, and we will do that. 803-404-6100, how you can weigh in if you want to do that. We'll get into some Shane Beamer, some Mike Shula calling plays in the bowl game, talk a little bit about that. Preston Thorne, Tyler Head, Bill Gunner. And when we come back, we got our phone lines worked out. When we come back, we will give away some basketball tickets to today's South Carolina game against Charleston Southern. Reminder, we'll have it right here for you, 11:30 pregame, noon tip-off over at Colonial Life Arena. So get your dialing fingers ready. When we come back, we'll give you some tickets to that game. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for AAA Heating and Air. Let me tell you something. As we wrap up here 2024 and we look ahead to 2025, you might not have thought about your heating and air unit, your heating and air unit that often, but you know what? You need to, because you need one that works. Whether it's the dog days of the summer or the cold days of January, February, you want a heating and air system that is working properly. And as you think about your heating and air unit, one thing that might come to your mind is, boy, is it old? I might have the oldest heating and air unit anywhere in the Midlands. Well, if you think that is the case, go to AAA Heating and Air's website, myoldair.com, and compete in their contest to find the oldest heating and air unit anywhere in the Midlands. Go to myoldair.com, complete the online entry form, and for every 100 entries, AAA Heating and Air will draw a winner at random. Again, go to myoldair.com. Contest is for a limited time only. Residents in the AAA Heating and Air service area are eligible to enter. See the terms and rules on their website for a full list of contest rules.
And let's look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Thursday morning. Things starting to pick up a little bit out there. Have a new accident to report. This is at I-77 northbound at Bluff Road. That's exit number 5. Still have the same accidents as well from earlier on this morning out at Atlas Road and Shop Road, and then one on the north side of things out at Broad River Road and Kinley Road as well. So look at your weather. It's still about 55 degrees here in downtown Columbia. High today is going to get up to 60 with some clouds as well. High tomorrow 58, 50 on Sunday, or 50 on Saturday, excuse me, and then 44 on Sunday. Let's look at your traffic and weather on the early game.
We're still working through that right now, and should have more of an answer for you on that one going forward. Right now, obviously, Dow's busy running the App State program, and he and the rest of the offensive staff have been putting together a plan for the bowl game, and he's been running the quarterback meetings and a lot of the stuff we've been doing all season. Coach Shula has been very involved with everything that we're doing offensively since the beginning.
That was the words of Shane Beamer yesterday discussing who would be calling plays for South Carolina in the bowl game. And Preston and I will get into that a little bit with Tyler here in just a second. But right now, let's give you a chance to win those South Carolina basketball tickets. Tip-off today at noon over at Colonial Life Arena. Dawn Staley's team taking on Charleston Southern. We'll take callers number 4 and 6 right now. Callers 4 and 6, you can win a pair of tickets to today's South Carolina basketball game. 803-404-6100. If you want to head down and catch Dawn Staley and the women's team take on Charleston Southern, give us a call. We got tickets for you. 803-404-6100. How you can weigh in, and we'll take callers number 4 and 6 right now to attend today's South Carolina Charleston Southern basketball game over at Colonial Life Arena. Preston, is it me, or do I feel like this is being a little overanalyzed at this point? Dow Loggins has moved on. He's taken the Appalachian State job. Mike Shula is there. Because Mike Shula has been here, there's continuity. Because I think Mike Shula has relationships with Sean Elliott, Lonnie Teasley, and Mike Furry and Marquell Blackwell. I assume that there's not a learning process here. It's business as usual, as Shane Beamer said. Are we overthinking? Is this being overthought in terms of who should be calling the plays for the bowl game?
I don't know, because I don't know what Mike Shula's involvement in game planning was as far as calling the plays. I don't know what input he had. I don't know what the other coaches think. It seems like it should be cut and dry. Once Dow accepted that job, thank you for your service. Go ahead and leave now. But it feels like they're leaving more open than it should be. I'm with you. If Shula's the new OC, he should be the one calling the plays.
And for him, look, this is important. This bowl game is important. South Carolina needs to win this bowl game. Get to 10 wins. Build up that goodwill. Build up that hype that will be there for next year. But this is also a chance to kind of not audition. Audition is if you don't have the job. But this is a chance for South Carolina to learn what Mike Shula likes. Does he want to be on the sideline with Lenore Sellers? That's where he was all year. Being able to go eye to eye with Lenore Sellers and look into his quarterback's face when things are facing a little bit of adversity. Would he rather be in the booth and have someone else down there? These are things that I think need to be tested and tried out, and you get an actual game. And also for the players, Preston, I don't know how it would have ever been for you. I'm trying to think, but to go through 2 weeks essentially of Mike Shula's actual coaching with him being the guy calling, running, scripting all of the plays.
It'll be different because he's not Dow Loggins, and so they'll try to do the same things, but his message is obviously going to be slightly different. And so I don't think this needs to be a trial run for next year. I think they need to just figure out what they're going to do for these next 2 weeks, and whatever that means, doesn't necessarily mean that they'll do the same things next year. So if he's been on the field talking to Lenoris this year, that might be where he stays because they have a level of comfort this year. That does not mean that they'll do that next year. So I think you try and find as many things that are similar, but because they are inherently different people, things will change in preparation.
Yeah, I mean, look, to me, I do think you treat it like a trial run because – you ready? This is a hot take.
Let's do it.
Next year could be the most important season in the history of Gamecock football.
There we go. There we go.
I want you to think about the hype that is going to come with this program right now as they sit here. If they are to win this game, and maybe even if they don't win it, but as I've said, I am projecting South Carolina to be somewhere around 12 when. Who was it? Was it J.C. Sherbert the other day who said you're going to get the Pat 40 and all the guys the day after the national championship are going to come out with their way too early top 25. South Carolina's going to have a player who's going to be considered for the Heisman. Nobody's going to look and say, well, oh, they lost this, they lost that. That never happens. It never happens. Nobody. Look at what they did with Florida State.
Yep.
All right. South Carolina's going to be right there around 12, I bet, and maybe higher when you get the way too early, because people are going to look at Lenore Sellers. And if they win this game, they're going to have won 7 straight. And if they win this game, they're going to have double-digit victories. And they've got a pretty good recruiting class coming in. And you open with a marquee game. Now, should they beat Virginia Tech next year in Atlanta? Yes. But you're going to open with a marquee game, likely on a Sunday night, where you're the only game playing, no NFL, no other college games. You're going to be on television. You're going to have everything on. You can't come out and mess that one around. You've got to come out and look good on August. I believe it's going to be August 31st. I don't know. Is it official yet? Is it officially official?
Official.
Okay. But with that being said, next year you've got a lot of pieces in place.
Preston, does that now make every game next year the biggest game of Shane Beamer's coaching career?
Listen, man.
By default.
Listen, we're edging towards that goal because we've never been in these waters before. We never swam in here before this high of a preseason ranking. I like what you're saying about that. Tyler, I believe it's clip 17 where they asked Mike if he wants to call plays because I want to see what he has to say. I hadn't heard this clip yet.
You know, I haven't. It doesn't really matter to me, number one. My mindset, I think if any one of you all in this room would be the same way, yeah, I'm going to prepare for this game like I am going to call it. And whatever Coach Beamer, however it unfolds, we'll be ready. And going back to what I said earlier about my relationship in the game plan, in the meeting rooms with Coach Loggins and the other offensive staff, who I'm thrilled to coach with. The guys on our staff, I think they're wonderful. They're good coaches and they're smart. We're going to be ready either way, so it's not that big of a deal in my opinion. And because we're all locked in, we've got we know it's going to be a big challenge, but we've got a lot of good preparation already as a coaching staff. And like Coach Beamer said, we've got some big days coming up here, and we're going to be ready either way.
Real quick. Has South Carolina cornered the market on what am I looking for? Think about the 3 bowl games. The 3 bowl games. 2 of them now you've been trying to figure out an offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
The other one, there was just we didn't know what was going on. They're putting Carry-On Joyner back there. They're working all the I don't know if chaos is the right word. I don't know. It's not behind the scenes. It's organized. It's actually hard for me to believe. No offense to Shane Beamer or anybody down there, but it's hard for me to believe he doesn't already know the plan.
Well,
we don't.
They might not be saying it, but I disagree with Mike saying that. It's not a big deal, or we're all going to be ready. Well, it is a big deal because somebody has to call the play. We assume. I don't. They could just do what we did. They take a board over there and just spin the wheel. Yeah, I mean that's probably not going to work out well.
You could go playground, just call plays in the dirt.
Or they just split up the game by series. Like, hey, Mike, you get the first series.
Well,
Sean, you get the second series.
And I think there is something about being coy about it, especially when you have multiple offensive assistants on staff. When you say, okay, well, if we don't tell anybody, then guess what? Illinois is having to game plan for somebody they don't know calling plays. And I'm sure they're going back and looking at Mike Shula tape from the NFL and his time at Alabama and say, well, he has a tendency to do this, and he did this with Cam Newton. He might
I tell you what, they better not go look
Sellers.
at 04 Alabama Gamecocks. They go look at that film.
Not going to get anything from that.
They're not going to get anything from that because we shut them down.
He did. I was there for that game.
No, but seriously, man, somebody has to call the plays. I hear you being coy with it. Listen, man, somebody has to call the plays. It is a big deal. You make 1.1. Mike Shula, you call the plays, dog.
I think
that's what it is.
Look, and I'll ask this question because we have now conditioned ourselves, I think, to believe that bowl games are irrelevant. Wins and losses are irrelevant. And it feels like Shane Beamer is playing that this bowl game has a ton of relevance to the future of South Carolina football. Again, I mean, if you're Shane Beamer, just the fact that there's only two coaches. There is two coaches in the history of the University of South Carolina that can say they have double-digit winning seasons. Two coaches. One of them's not alive anymore. This is a huge, huge deal for South Carolina. And the fact that I think Shane Beamer does know what he's doing, I think that yesterday, but is keeping coy on this to not tip his hand to Illinois tells me I think he knows the importance of this game for this program and even for the future, which includes what I've said is probably the biggest year of South Carolina football ever. Sorry if you don't like hype and us being overly dramatic, but prepare for that. 9 months of that. But, yes, do it this way. I'm fine with it. But I do think they know what's going on.
Okay. We'll see.
I think yesterday was just smoke screen after smoke screen.
Somebody call the plays. I don't care who it is. Somebody has to be the point person.
I mean, you have an offensive coordinator. This isn't like 2 years ago. 2 years ago, they didn't have an offensive coordinator. Marcus Satterfield left. I can't remember the timeline of hiring Dow Loggins.
It was, before the bowl game, but
was it? Are you sure on that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was. It was actually right around this time. I think it was just before Christmas, if I remember correctly. But because he was there for bowl practice, because he's talked about that, when he first noticed Leggett or whatever. But yeah, again, when you hire someone from the outside, you don't expect him to come in and 2 weeks later be calling plays. But yeah, when you're promoting someone internally, it's like, I think that's a little bit of an easier transition there.
I'm with you. I think, look, this is a simple thing, right? Mike just calls plays.
Yeah.
You and Sean Elliott get together.
Do they have the wristband like, what would Dow do?
No.
And they're like looking at side, well, Dow would do this in this situation. So I don't care what Dow would do. I'm doing this now.
Roll with it. 803.
Look at me. I'm the captain now.
803.
Exactly.
Yeah. 404-60-100. We'll get into a little bit of Lenoris Sellers and Mike Shula and discuss that a little bit as well. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner for Love Chevrolet. I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, where it is officially the Holly Jolly season. And at Love Chevrolet, they understand that better than most, because with those 14 acres of brand new Chevys and that incredible sales staff ready to walk you around and help you find what you've been looking for, now is the season to go visit Love Chevrolet. Again, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. You can always visit them on the web at lovechevy.com. But right now, it is the biggest discounts of the year and the most abundant selection they have seen in decades. So you need to stop by, walk around, check out all those great vehicles that Love Chevrolet has. There's a reason they're the #1 volume Chevy dealer right here in the Midlands. So go by, stop, and visit the lot. See what tickles your fancy. Visit Love Chevrolet today, and together, let's drive.
All right, let's take another look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Thursday morning as people begin to get up and get on in. Still working an accident on the south side of town. That at I-77 northbound and Bluff Road. That's exit number 5. Got some slowdowns heading in that direction, so be careful as you're making your way through there. Other than that, though, seems like everything on the interstates is okay. Do have one more accident to report outside of town. That's at Midway Road and Andrew Corley Road, so be mindful as you're making your way through that area as well. Quick peek of the weather, still about 55 degrees here in downtown Columbia. High today is going to get up to 60 with some fog. Be careful as you're driving in this morning. Let's look at traffic and weather on the early game.
$7:35 as we roll along on your Thursday morning. Again, we'll be back tomorrow morning. Get you set for the college football playoff. It'll be the three of us, Tyler Head, Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner. We appreciate you hanging out this morning. Reminder coming up today at 11:30. We'll have the pregame for the women's basketball game against Charleston Southern. And then at 12 o'clock, we will have the tip-off, and coming up tonight, 6 o'clock, it'll be Carolina Calls with Lamont Paris and Derek Scott as well. So a busy day, a lot of basketball on tap for you today as we get you going there. Tonight, little NFL football. It is Jay Phillips' Denver Broncos against the Rams tonight. Both teams actually pretty good. Broncos 9-5 so far in the season. Rams 8-6. Los Angeles Rams 8-6.
Do you get another bowl game tonight? Have you guys been into bowl games yet? Is it time to lock into bowl games for you guys?
No, for me. I'm passing until the main course on Friday.
Okay.
I'll let some of that other stuff.
No appetizers.
No appetizers. Let me save it for the meal.
When you give me tomorrow will be the day, but not because of the college football playoff. But when you start giving me like afternoon bowl games, I'm all in. That's when I'm all in. And today you've got 7 o'clock tonight, Georgia Southern and Sam Houston. It's the RL Carriers New Orleans Bowl tonight at 7 o'clock. That's probably one. I did try to get in a little bit with California and UNLV last night.
Yeah, that was a fun game. Western Kentucky and James Madison. It's pretty fun before that. Yeah. It felt weird having bowl games start on Army-Navy Saturday, and then like Memphis and West Virginia played the other night at like 9 o'clock, and I don't think most people knew that game even happened. It's like, oh, we're doing this now? We're playing high-profile games? So it's a weird dynamic in this new, I guess, playoff era with how bowls are now.
Right, you're exactly right about that. Again, playoff games on Saturday. Next Monday, we get some nice afternoon. This is when I'll really get in. Next Monday at 11 a.m., Coastal Carolina against Texas San Antonio, part of the Myrtle Beach Bowl. Count me in. Let's go.
What a bad deal.
You don't get to travel?
Tough break. I got another week of practice, and I just get to play here. That is garbage.
It's simply essentially
just
a home
another
game.
Week. Yeah, but it's a home game, but it's
that's what I'm saying. Yeah,
bad break.
That's how I always felt. Every time Boise played in the Potato Bowl, it's it's a home game. There's nothing special about that.
Especially considering the dudes. I think they went to Hawaii last year.
Yeah,
I think they did. Yeah, that's right. Tim Beck had the
Oh man.
Yeah, I'll say so. Hawaii routinely would play in the Hawaii Bowl when they were actually good enough to get there. I guess that's one program like, staying home ain't too bad. No. Do you really want to go to Frisco, Texas, as opposed to Hawaii? No, we'll stay here.
Or definitely, as you just mentioned, Idaho. Like, would you want to go to the famous Idaho Potato Bowl in Boise, or would you rather stay home in Hawaii?
If I'm a Hawaii football player and you take me to Boise, Idaho in December, there's nothing you can show me or take me to do that's going to impress me.
Again, to jump in the Wayback Machine, when we went to our bowls way back, I believe Clemson might have gone to the Idaho Bowl.
Yeah.
And I remember having friends that played for Clemson and just be like, y'all are in the snow.
Actually, back then it was the Rhodey's Humanitarian Bowl, so they didn't even have like the potato tie-in, like, hey, at least get some French fries.
They were not happy about
good humanitarians here up in Boise, Idaho.
Might have to go down a path tomorrow on which bowl game you would prefer to get. Not if you were just going off of names and swag, where you prefer to go. We might also have to. I don't know if we've ever dragged Preston down a path of the Outback Bowl swag room.
Ooh, we talked about the food yesterday a little bit.
Yeah, look. Again, as a media member, and I only covered one or two bowl games, Outback Media food, top notch, absolutely top notch. I mean, they had a server coming around with just like you didn't have to go to the back of the room. I mean, you could. They had a buffet, but you didn't have to go. They would just have. So I think I sat there with Heath Klein for the, and professional Heath, very agitated that me was sitting there like far more concerned with the food than I was with anything. That was an awful game to the fourth quarter, by the way, too.
Yeah.
Back in 2017. 803-404-6100. Preston has asked a couple of y'all, has asked out there, rank them. The Christmas and New Year's days, eves and days. A couple of y'all have weighed in. One texter went Christmas Day, best day ever. Christmas Eve, so much anticipation. New Year's Day, fresh start to a new year. Collard greens, and New Year's Eve, haven't stayed up in 20 years for celebration. Michael went in on this as well. He broke these into coaches.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas Day is the Nick Saban.
Okay.
Christmas Eve is the Bill Belichick.
Okay.
New Year's Day is the Mike Tomlin. New Year's Eve is the Jeff Fisher.
I like all the characters involved. I'm still trying to place them, but I like it.
Now, which version of Bill Belichick are we talking about? Patriots Bill Belichick or North Carolina Bill Belichick?
We don't know enough about.
Now we have two different ones.
Chapel Bill.
We don't know enough about Chapel Bill just yet. Not sure on that one. David also weighs in. David said Valentine's Day is the most overrated holiday, and yes, I said it.
Be careful who you say that around.
Again, we're just working with the BCS model. Only 4 teams here. We're not going expanded out to these other holidays. We're just here, concentrated tournament.
803-404-6100, how you can weigh in if you want to do so. Yesterday, one of the things that Mike Shula talked a little bit about was his relationship with Lenora Sellers and how that could work out. Here is Mike Shula yesterday, number 11, Tyler, I'm sorry. Here is him talking about his relationship with Lenora Sellers.
Yeah, I think it's a lot. He's and you guys know him he's been up here a heck of a lot more than I have, and he's an interesting guy in such a good way, and he's extremely competitive. He's smart. He's a fast learner, and he has a way about himself that, without really saying a whole lot or being very vocal, that attracts guys in a leadership, and where he's a leader. So hopefully our relationship that we've built here since last March will benefit us and benefit this football team moving forward.
What do you take away from that when you hear that?
Nothing.
Dow Loggins could talk, but you also got some stuff out of Dow. I feel like Mike Shula's press conferences are gonna.
We're learning about Mike on the job here. I didn't get much out of that particular quote because he said things that we already know. I'm way more interested in how he relates to Lenora. So we'll have to continue to listen to Mike.
Well, he was a former head coach, so he knows the deal.
Right. So we're trying to get a little bit of that. But I am interested in seeing how he would coach him. And I believe Tyler's number 18, looking at here how he coached other quarterbacks who are of this mold.
Well, let's save that for the other side.
Gotcha.
Yep.
803-404-6100, how you can weigh in if you want to do so. Again, we'll come back. We will wrap up hour number 2. We'll get a little bit more into some Mike Shula and Lenora Sellers as we roll along. You're listening to the early game. Bill Gunner from Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner and the family have been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And the reason of that is because they think about your roof 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You heard that right. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Mid-State Roofing is there to help you with your roofing needs. Now, you don't need to just wait until you have a need. Go ahead, make the phone call today. You'll speak with an on-call technician or a Mid-State Roofing employee who will help you with a maintenance contract. You don't want to wait until you find a leak. Go ahead and be proactive. Call Mid-State Roofing today, 803-356-1919. Whether it's your home or your business, Mid-State Roofing wants to help you keep your operation dry and running long into the future. And again, it all starts by them being available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So make the phone call, 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I think, it's my 7 years with Cam, number one, but I think it's, yes, you do, but it's, you actually kind of find yourself looking back, and I think we'll do that some in the offseason of just maybe there's some things that we did back there with Cam that, maybe we haven't done in a while that that might fit here with Lenoris. And I would say number one, both of them, these, we all know what actually both those guys have done with their mobility, with the ability to run the ball, but they're passers first, and that's what we want with our quarterbacks, to be able to be fast thinkers, anticipate, three things: get the ball there, go to the right receiver with the ball, get the ball there on time, and get the ball there accurately. And then all of a sudden, if you have a guy that can move around and run, then we'll add to that. And so, yeah, we'll do that. It's going to probably be more philosophy-wise regarding X's and O's than it would be, well, hey, watch how he runs, or, no, it's, sometimes you got to talk to him about, hey, get down quicker. But that's always a fine line of, hey, don't take the extra hit, as opposed to, you say that and then he doesn't do it, but he makes the guy miss or breaks a tackle and then goes and scores. So it's hard to have it both ways. That's the one thing I've learned with guys that can carry the football and run like both Cam and Lenoris. And Lenoris has still got a long way to go. It's just his first year, but we'll continue to try to build on those things.
That was Mike Shula yesterday talking about coaching big mobile quarterbacks. And Preston, Tyler, yeah, there is a fine line between, like, hey, get down, don't take a hit, and hey, keep running because you're big and you're mobile. And
you're going to run me over.
Yeah.
You're bigger than me. You are the same size as all these other linebackers. Again, unfair advantage for the quarterbacks, but I digress.
So what did you take away from that, hearing him talk about coaching? So here's what I think I know, what I've been kind of told. Not that Dow Loggins wasn't heavily involved in, as it was worded to me, the upbringing of Lenoris Sellers, but in his college career. But Mike Shula was the guy on the sideline with him during games. Loggins, as we know, was up in the booth calling the plays. But you can't understate the value that Mike Shula had brought to the development of Lenora Sellers and keeping that continuity there. And then, as he just talked about, Mike Shula does have a background with a guy that's similar in a lot of ways. Hopefully, Lenoris doesn't follow the Cam Newton path of dressing on, I believe, ESPN.
Cam makes some choices.
But
hopefully Lenoris follows his path of taking his team to the national championship.
Right.
So, I mean, that's a definite possibility. And Cam has been successful at every level of football. That would be really cool. It's almost like, hey, let's pump the brakes a little bit. I think people might forget how good that dude was especially I think we all should remember how good he was. What I heard from Mike just now was that he coaches quarterbacks. He doesn't coach running quarterbacks. He doesn't coach dual threats or whatever. It's good to add that onto the thing that they have. But he talked about being able to throw the ball accurately, being able to throw the ball on time, being able to get the ball to the right receiver. Those are all the things that you do with any other quarterback. And so you coach those things first, and then you can add on the running piece. He also worked with Josh Allen, who was not able to do any of those things, and through time has been able to become one of the best quarterbacks. So you have that mobile piece in your pocket, but it's not the main thing that you're focused on.
And again, going back to what a lot of this is, I think you're going to learn a lot about Mike Shula as a play caller and what he does. I'm assuming this is going to be his game. I don't see why it shouldn't be.
Are we?
I think, yeah. Look, this is a golden opportunity to send him out there and go, okay. But this isn't a first-time thing for him either. And I think that's important to bring up is, like, it's not like Mike Shula. Remember when Brian McClendon did it for Muschamp in that bowl game that I was referencing earlier? And we were like, oh, okay. Or when we actually watched Marcus Satterfield and we were like, hey, I thought you've done this before. Like, Shula's done this. Like, this shouldn't be new.
If you were to bet on, if I gave you Mike Shula or the field in terms of who's calling plays at the ball game in 2 weeks, would you confidently say you could bet on Mike Shula?
I'm taking Mike Shula. The other part to this that I'm interested in, because there are some similarities there with backgrounds, is the tandem of Mike Shula and Sean Elliott. Because I do think you started to see Sean Elliott have his fingerprints on the run game late in the season. And by the way, let's point this out, because we learned something last night. And I think what I'm about to tell you is extremely important. I'm looking to see if we have a clip on this. We learned last night that Kyle Kennard is not playing in the bowl game. Shane Beamer alluded to one other player that is trying to make a decision. As far as we know, Rocket Sanders is in this game, and Rocket Sanders probably needs to play in this game to put a little bit more on film and show durability. Do you agree with that?
I don't know if he needs to play in this game as far as that is concerned, but it would definitely benefit the team. If anything, at running back, you really start thinking about obtaining that one shot that could knock you out. Rocket Sanders needs to be very healthy in the draft and training process in order for him to get a favorable grade. So I don't know if that's who he was referring to, but I could see that being a toss-up.
My initial thought, and this just kind of occurred to me as we were talking about it, and I kind of jumped all over the place, but you talk about Sean Elliott and the way he calls and the designs up the run plays to go along with Mike Shula, who, again, having that background with Cam Newton a little bit. Rocket Sanders is a massive piece of this bowl game that we assume. I assumed it naturally last night when I heard him talk about one other player, it would be Nick Eamon-Wari.
Yeah, that was my thought, too, because he's got potential to maybe be a late first, early second round kind of guy where he does have something to lose if he gets hurt in this game, certainly. So, yeah, that's kind of the one that stuck out to me of one other possible opt-out if that does end up happening.
Well, also because I think, as Preston has said, Eamon-Wari is going to win the underwear Olympics in Indianapolis.
For sure.
Like, they very well, he could jump very highly into the draft with that, and I'm not sure he needs to put anything else on film. We'll get back into it. Also, Will Levis says that he can still be a franchise quarterback. And you know what? I think I blame Preston Thorne for this. I'll explain. Got a lot going on here over the next few days, and let me give you a quick rundown. As we've mentioned, we've got a game coming up today. The women take on Charleston Southern at 12 o'clock. We'll have the pregame for you right here, 11:30 going on. We'll preview the women's basketball game against Charleston Southern. Tip-off again later on today at noon. And then tonight, 6 o'clock, Carolina calls with Lamont Paris and Derek Scott. Coach Paris coming off that massive 91-88 victory over the Clemson Tigers. His team will be back in action, and we'll have that for you coming up on Sunday afternoon right here, 107.5 The Game. It'll be a 1:30 pregame, followed up by a 2 o'clock tip-off. The men's basketball team taking on Radford. They'll be looking for win number 9 on the season. So a lot going on here. Continue to listen to Bill Gunner, Preston Thorne, and Tyler Head.
All right, let's take a look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Thursday morning. Still have the accident that is out at Midway Road and Andrew Corley Road. Other than that, most of the roadways in and around the city looking pretty okay as of right now. Do have some heavy slowdowns on the south side at I-77 northbound as you're approaching Bluff Road, so be mindful as you're making your way through that area. Other than that, everything looking pretty okay for the most part. 56 degrees still here in downtown Columbia. High today only going to get up to 60. High tomorrow is at 58. 50 on Saturday, and then 43 on Sunday. That's your traffic and weather on the early game.
Final hour of the Thursday morning episode of the early game. We'll get back up. We'll do it all again tomorrow. We'll have a holly jolly spirit about us, and we will roll along. But right now, today, Preston Thorne has asked you to rank your Christmas, New Year days. All right, we're not. Now, I've given a hot take. I have said that New Year's Eve, out of all of the days, all the 365 days, all of the holidays, all of the celebration days, Christmas Eve is indeed the most overrated. Excuse me, I'm sorry. New Year's Eve is the most overrated of all of them. I went with Christmas Day is number 1. Christmas Eve is number 2. New Year's Day is number 3. New Year's Eve is number 4. That was my ranking. Preston, have you given yours?
I haven't given mine, but I will say that I have an upset brewing in the Christmas division.
Okay.
Upset brewing in the Christmas division. Give me Christmas Eve.
Understandable.
Over Christmas Day. Give me Christmas Eve over Christmas Day.
I think it really comes from what your tradition is.
That's true.
You know, like we always do my mom's side of the family on Christmas Eve. That's something that we've done my entire life, so that's special to me. But a lot of people, they might not do anything on Christmas Eve, and they may wait till Christmas Day or, you know, the day after Christmas or whatever it may be. So I guess it's all personal preference on what you and your family traditionally do.
That's very true.
We used to have, so growing up, because I'd have rotated this growing up, though, we would have a big, almost Griswold style Christmas party on Christmas Eve. All the family got together, and it was a lot of that was my memories of growing up. Had a one occasion way back when we had for one of the desserts, it was a red velvet cake. I was probably like 8, 9, 10, 11, somewhere there, and got it, but forgot to get the fork, so I put it in a chair, like a chair, and one of my uncles sat in it.
Nice.
And
nice.
It was stupid stuff.
It's good stories.
Yeah. But that was, and then as we got older, and unfortunately, family members moved on, we went to a very low key Christmas Eve. Now there'll be a church involved, church service will be involved, and then a kind of a low key. My sister's moved to Raleigh, so we don't have her family around, and so it's a little more low key. Whereas Christmas Day, the kids are excited, everybody's excited. There's, you know,
having kids also can tilt which way this goes for your lot.
For sure.
You know, putting out the presents and all that kind of stuff, seeing them open the presents, that's that can be big for Christmas Day.
So, so I went Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, New Year's Day, New Year's Eve. I have now fully bought in. A lot of people with me on that. A lot of people. The demographics of this program is skewed.
That's what I'm saying. I just feel like the jury is tainted on this one a little bit. Just a little bit.
I'm with you. Tyler, what directions did you go?
I went with the same one you did initially. Now you swap. What'd you swap earlier?
I had New Year's Eve at 2, but upon thinking about it, because here we are, it's December the 19th today, and I instantly had to think ahead. I was like, well, what are we doing for New Year's Eve? Kids will be with me. What am I gonna? And then all of a sudden, I felt stress in my heart at about 6:52 this morning. I was like, I don't know what we're gonna do. Probably just hang at the house. I'm not a fireworks person, so the fireworks are like.
I just like New Year's Eve. You play that old familiar game of gunshot, firework. I don't know. This is interesting.
Listen, as somebody that used to work in public safety, not a fun day. That and 4th of July.
Understandable. So what direction? So you went?
I went with Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, Christmas Eve, and then New Year's Day. That was my 1 through 4.
Okay, so there you go. So that was ours. If you want to weigh in, you can certainly do that. Kevin from Lexington says, all because of personal traditions. He goes Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day.
Solid.
Is how he ranks those up. Another texter weighs in and says Christmas Day. Then goes Christmas Eve and says, Bill, you're not hosting a big party? Well, yeah, that may happen, but that normally means people just show up. He goes Christmas Eve with 3, New Year's Day at 4, and says no one likes hangovers. It's a good point. So, yeah, you got that. So keep weighing in on that. 803-404-6100. Again, we talked a little bit. I know I was not here yesterday. Took a final day off for the year. We will have some days off for the show coming up next Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but did not discuss a whole lot or did not get a chance to discuss yesterday. South Carolina's big 91-88 victory over Clemson in basketball. And I think the biggest thing, Preston and Tyler, about this, and I don't want this to sound too negative because the way I'm going to word it sounds bad, but I think it keeps us all invested in the basketball season. I think that's a big part because if they should beat Radford and they should beat Presbyterian, and that takes you to 10 non-conference victories. But I feel like a lot of the air would have been let out of the balloon if your three of your four non-conference losses had been to Xavier, Indiana, and Clemson. Basically, your marquee opponents, and then you throw in that bad loss to North Florida. I feel like a lot of the air would have been let out of the balloon going into conference play.
And that's what Preston and I talked about yesterday. You needed to prove to people you could play with and meet a high-caliber opponent because you look at the murderer's road that the SEC schedule is going to be, and if you would have gotten beaten by 20 points by Clemson or something like that, you'd say, yeah, it's probably going to be another one of those below-average type of seasons. But the fact that you won that game in the manner that you did, you say, okay, we got a chance. Now, again, it's going to be a tough schedule still, but you feel like, that they're starting to hit their stride a little bit now.
The only disappointment, and I get it, and I don't know how to work this out in my mind, that was a great atmosphere the other night. That place can be, I'm not a fan of it. I'm not a fan of Colonial Life Arena for different reasons, a bunch of different ones that we won't go to. But you can make that a good environment, and I wish you'd see a little bit more of that early in the season. I know that we're all caught up in football and everything, and this is not a Lamont Parish deal. This has happened for years, Preston and Tyler, but that was a good environment. I think that's about as good of a time you can play that game, South Carolina and Clemson. I think it was maybe Jay Phillips, or it might have been somebody who I heard say, if you're going to switch it around at all, you make it within the first 2 or 3 games of the season like they did in Lamont's first year. Remember, by the way, Lamont Parish 2-1 against Brad Burnell, has not lost at home to Clemson. But the atmosphere was good, and we talked about it last year, getting on the bandwagon early. People jump on, and I feel like that was another big thing for Tuesday night to win that game and get people on the bandwagon in a big game at home to give you something going into January.
Yeah, I just positioned it as I feel like that's the first game where the basketball normie, the layman, sort of paid attention to what was going on with them. And that was a great game to tune into. As you said, it was the first time the team looked very connected. You saw them compete at a very high level, and you saw a tremendous basketball game. So if that was your first time watching this team, you would start to feel invested, and you feel like, oh, this team, like I said, I told Tyler, you might not see a better basketball game all year, just as far as the ups and downs and the excitement level. Yeah, there were some technical things. They could have obviously finished the game out a lot earlier, but as far as just excitement level, you may not see a better one all year. And so that is a game where people are going to want to latch on to this team and follow them for the rest of the season.
803-404-6100. Let's get out to the phone lines. Patrick wants to weigh in on basketball this morning. Patrick, how you doing? What's on your mind?
I'm doing good, Bill. And sorry, no update on the hockey for you.
Oh.
But I don't know if you guys kept up with North Florida's schedule, but I have. They're actually 9-3 right now, and they've only lost to UNC Asheville twice on their schedule, which UNC Asheville is a non-conference opponent for them. But they have beaten teams like Georgia Tech, and they did lose to Georgia, and they did lose to Nebraska 103-72 because they caught the end of that game. But now with knowing how the season's gone, I don't think we can consider that a bad loss anymore because they're like near the top of the Big South.
Yeah,
appreciate the Ospreys update. We've been waiting on that. My TikTok algorithm has been lagging, so appreciate that.
Yeah, unfortunately they are actually 7-5 on the season. They're currently 7-5 as I look at their schedule here. You're right. They lost to Georgia. They lost to UNC Asheville. They lost to Nebraska, Georgia Southern, and as you mentioned, a second loss to UNC Asheville. Look, they by the way, they play Florida. They play Florida on Saturday. But unfortunately, that's going to end up being a bad loss. But you can offset it with a lot of victories in conference play that people will forget that. Look, South Carolina's not the only team that has got an ugly loss on their schedule, on their resume somewhere. There are other teams out there. You play well in conference play. Quite frankly, now with that Clemson victory, and this is where I was going with this, Tyler and Preston, with that Clemson victory, if you can get to 10 wins in conference play, the strength of the SEC, if you're at 10-8 in conference play, that puts you at 20-11. You might have to win a game in the conference tournament, but 20-11, 10 conference wins, has you on the bubble of the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, I feel like beating Clemson is kind of your mulligan for it kind of erases the North Florida game a little bit where kind of cancel each other out. So you finally got your first quad 1 or quad 2 win, which again I said the other day, going into the game against Clemson, they were the only SEC team that didn't have a win in the first 2 quads. Now you have a quality win that's certainly going to help your resume out. And again, like I said, if you go 500 in conference play, there's going to be several more high-caliber wins along the way there as well.
803-404-6100. Appreciate the phone call. Real quick, let's address this. I think this is partly Preston Thorne's fault and the Minnesota Vikings, and I lump Preston in with Minnesota. Will Levis, who has not exactly had the best career to date so far, well, he still believes he can be a franchise quarterback.
That's the end of the conversation. I still believe that I can be a franchise quarterback for this team. I have the most confidence in myself and my ability to lead any team in this league. And I think that this year was great development for me, and I think that I truly did improve. And sure as heck don't want to go out like that.
All right. There's 2 parts to that clip that we need to address. Number one, let's start with the main part, Will Levis. This is your fault and Sam Darnold's. If your boy, J.J. McCarthy, had just not gotten injured, I guarantee Will Levis is looking around at Sam Darnold like, man, he got criticized. He got kicked around a couple different teams. Look at him. They're 12-2 right now. They're a Super Bowl contender. If Sam Darnold can do it, doggone it, I can do it.
Fair. Sam has given a lot of people false hope with my Minnesota Vikings. So there's a lot of quarterbacks who are toiling around saying, like, man, if Sam can do it, I can. And you might be right. I don't know.
Because remember, early in his career, Sam said, I see ghosts out there.
Yeah, but here's the thing. At least Sam admitted to seeing ghosts. We don't know what Will Levis sees when he decides to make his plays, because he does some of the most wackadoodle things on a football field known to mankind.
Will Levis is more known for the memes of the still shots of him during games than what he actually does on the field.
And I'll just go any further. Will, you've never been a franchise quarterback. You never won at any single level of your sport. You are there because you throw far and you're pretty. And you ate a mayonnaise banana, right?
Or something.
It's mayonnaise and coffee.
Mayonnaise and coffee.
He does the, I think, the Hellman's commercials now.
Yeah, that's about it. Will, you've never actually been really good at quarterback. So, I don't know.
All right. Now, there's a background noise taking place here. Now, I want to remind you, the Tennessee Titans are 3-11. They've been eliminated from the playoffs. Let's play that one more time, and I want you to pick up on a background noise that's happening.
All right, 1 second here.
Okay. All right.
Rewind it.
All right, we're going to rewind it. There's a particular, did you catch it the first time? Do you know what I'm? All right, I want you to listen to a particular background noise because I'm not sure the Titans are focused on the right things.
I don't think that's the end of the conversation. I still believe that I can be a franchise quarterback for this team. I have the most confidence in myself and my ability to lead any team in this league. And I think that this year was great development for me, and I think that I truly did improve. And sure as heck don't want to go out like that.
Okay. Where are we doing this interview? Why is there a ping pong ball in the back? Who is playing ping pong? You're 3-11. No ping pong. If Fran Brown loses and he can't shower, then the Titans, if they lose, should have no ping pong in the facility.
It sounded like it was a spirited competition, too. They were volleying. They were going back and forth a little bit. It's a good catch, Bill.
I think they've checked out for the holiday season.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, number one, where are we doing this interview?
I mean, it looks like I'm watching I see the video of it up. It looks like they're just in the locker room. They're in front of one of like the uniform displays, so somewhere within the team facility, and yeah, a couple teammates playing ping pong, I guess.
They've lost 3 straight, and they've got the Colts this weekend, I guess. They could go on a winning streak. They got the Colts, and then they got the Jags, who are really bad too. But ping pong in the locker room.
We had a ping pong in our players' lounge, and you would see guys who obviously did not compete just about an hour ago on the practice field get on that ping pong table, and you'd see all the fiery competitiveness come out of guys. And you'd be like, where was that? Just a little while ago. We were playing sports.
803-404-6100. Texter asks, beer pong? Maybe that's what they were doing.
Maybe.
Christmas holiday party in the Titans locker room where Will Levis, who's overindulged.
Not like being on a good losing team where everybody knows we're losing. It's like, whatever, man.
We'll be back. Bill Gunner for Old Timey Meat Market, where here we are at the holidays. If you thought about your Christmas Eve dinner, well, guess what? At Old Timey Meat Market right now, you can go get an absolutely fantastic tenderloin that'll be perfect for the family when you get together on Christmas Eve. Or maybe you need to think about your Christmas day and celebrating a little bit. Maybe you want to cook out some steaks and enjoy what all Santa Claus has left behind for you. Whatever I know, at Old Timey Meat Market, you're going to find it. I'll tell you what. If you want a great gift for granddad, for dad, for whomever this coming season, go by Old Timey Meat Market and pick up a gift certificate. It is the absolute best way to go. Let them go and find that great cut of meat, whether it's steak, whether it's chicken, whether it's pork, maybe some fish. Old Timey Meat Market in their 3 locations, South Congaree, Irmo, or the Lexington store have got you covered. It's a non-grocery store meat buying experience where they want to know you. They want to know what you like. So stop by today, visit Old Timey Meat Market. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
All right, let's take a look at your traffic and weather for your ride in on this Thursday morning as the sun is nice and up now. Got a couple accidents to report, including a major one. This one is going to be at I-20 eastbound and Broad River Road. 2 left lanes are blocked, so heavy delays. You're making your way through that area, so be very, very careful there. And then pretty nearby, you have another accident, this one at K Street and St. Andrews Road. Take a look at the weather. Still about 56 degrees here in downtown Columbia. High today. Getting up to 60, 58 tomorrow, 50 on Saturday, and then 43 on Sunday. That's your traffic and weather on the early game.
803-404-6100. Let me ask you two this. We get a question coming in, and then we'll get to some college football playoffs. Because I mentioned about me not being a big fan of Colonial Life Arena. I think it's too big. I wish the seating went more vertical, I guess, if you will.
Are we kind of on top of the court?
Yeah. I think I know it was built for a multi-purpose, kind of wasn't completely basketball. Texter weighs in, said, my son just asked me why we're not all big fans of the CLA, and I told him it's just too big. He said, well, how big is it compared to an NBA arena? Can you guys answer that for us? Relatively slightly smaller, right? Maybe
a little
2,000
bit
to 3,000 seats?
Yeah, I'd say. I mean, standard NBA arena, you're going to have usually kind of like an extra tier in an NBA arena, like an upper deck that you don't quite have at the CLA, but not that much smaller.
No, it's just personal. Number one, Preston, I don't know what you during college, how many times you would go over to Frank McGuire Arena to watch and to support them. But Frank McGuire Arena is always number one. I played there. I got to play there in 2 state championship games. But there's so many great memories. One of my greatest South Carolina memory is going to always be being in that building on a Sunday afternoon when South Carolina rallied to beat Cincinnati. And I believe that was 97 or 98. And Antonio Grant hitting the 3-pointer at the buzzer, but there's a lot of other great memories I have at Frank McGuire Arena. But the way that arena was built, that just went straight up, and it was dark, it was musty. I still remember the sound of the scoreboard and the annoying sound it would make. But that would be But Colonial Life Arena is not a bad arena. There's nothing wrong with it. It doesn't have a great college. It takes a lot to make it have a good college basketball feel.
Well, it's hard to build arenas like that. I mean, when you go for the efficiency and the prettiness, you get rid of some of the character that you have. I believe Auburn has done a good job with their arena.
Auburn's arena is incredible.
They did a great job down there trying to capture that feel, but a lot of times that's what you lose when you go for these very clean, pristine palaces where you can have multiple events.
Yeah, and that's the big thing about it is being able to you were there a couple weeks ago watching Pink fly around.
I'm just saying.
I was there last week watching Trans-Siberian Orchestra. Great show.
Yeah. Interesting, though. You weren't here for that Monday recap. Did you know that they do the Lost Christmas Eve story? Were you aware of that when you went?
So I knew that was the name of the concert tour, whatever it is. I didn't know that it was going to be presented in the way like, hey, song, we're going to tell part of the story. Song, tell part of the story. I just thought, that's the name of the album or whatever maybe, but I like the way that they did that. That was pretty neat.
I just wasn't prepared for it.
I wasn't either. I wasn't prepared for a lot of that show.
Yeah.
It was cool.
Jen thought I was like a complete moron for like Jen's like, no, that didn't happen. I'm like, Jen, I'm texting her during the show, and I'm like,
there was a girl in a bubble. There was smoke. There was lasers. The bass player walked by me playing his bass out in the crowd. It was wild.
See, can't do
all that I expected. It was the story where, again, I'm not going to get on the path. It was a very sad story.
Yeah, it kind of got you in the feels a little bit.
About an hour in, I've got a couple tears going.
And then like halfway through, like, all right, we're just going to play some fun songs now. And great time.
Yeah, then they go into, then they got in, you're kind of like.
The stage was moving. I looked up the guitar players above me on this like lift. I'm like, what is happening?
It went from 0 to 100 at about 8:30 last Thursday night. You're right about that. It was great. I would recommend going back, but that first story that they told.
Shout out to that violin player, man. That dude was shredding.
Dude, do you think they play? Is that live?
I think it is.
Oh man, that is skill.
It's a lot of skill.
Preston, like. He's right. They're running around. They're doing the violin. You're telling me you just step a little hard. You know your shoulder jerks and you don't.
Well, when you have enough instruments going on, missing a note, I don't think it's that noticeable.
That violin player was shredding is a sentence I'm not sure has ever been spoken in mankind.
You had to see it in person.
He's not wrong. Yeah.
And for the second act, he took off his jacket. Dude he was jacked, man. Like, he was flexing on us.
Shredded violin player. I like it.
I will go back next year. I mean, I'll be more prepared for what I'm about to absorb, but it was great. 803-404-6100. College football playoff gets going tomorrow night. Is there a thing? I'm gonna kind of follow Preston's question on this. Is there a thing where we believe there are upsets in this first round? And then if so, what do you define as an upset? Now, Texas is an 11.5 point favorite. That's a pretty big favorite. But are there upsets? Because Preston raises the question, is there a chance for an upset? I'm under the impression, I believe that any team, I don't think we have a dominant college football team this year.
Right.
I have stated as much that I think you could have backed this thing up to number 20 in the college football playoff rankings, and every team had a chance to win. Your question makes me think: is there such a thing as an upset in this thing, or do we just believe all these teams are pretty equal?
So maybe we reframe it as: would you be surprised if? So let's do this. Would you be surprised if Tennessee beat Ohio State?
No, and a matter of fact, I might kind of like Tennessee on the money line in that game.
Tyler?
Yeah, I picked Tennessee to win, so no surprise.
To win that game?
Yeah.
College football player for that game?
Or that game.
Okay.
Would you be surprised if Clemson beat Texas?
No.
I'd be surprised, but I don't think it qualifies as like, oh my God, an upset, because again, Clemson's been there and done that before, even with some not the best teams in the world. Like, there's something to be said about experience in the playoffs.
Would you be surprised if SMU beat Penn State?
That's probably the one.
That's the one?
That's probably the one.
I go back and forth between that and Indiana over Notre Dame. I mean, those are kind of both even in terms of like what they're up against, in my opinion. But that being said, both those teams, like Preston said, 11-2 for SMU with the conference championship game and 11-1 for Indiana. Like, winning wouldn't shock me necessarily. I don't think it's going to happen, but I wouldn't sit here and be dumbfounded by it.
So to go back to what you just said, would you be surprised if Indiana beat Notre Dame?
No. I might actually take Indiana in that one straight out. SMU is the one. SMU is the one that I would be shocked if they beat Penn State. I do, but because that game's a noon game, I open the door a little bit more. I think LSU got a great draw on that. Mm-hmm. If you'd have put that at a night game and Happy Valley could do their whiteout and everything, okay, then I'd be really shocked. Noon game in Happy Valley, James Franklin can blow that thing with ease, man.
Sure.
He's got two play sheets, the one that works, and he's going to have the other one where it's got the goofy play on it that he draws up.
Big game James facing the biggest game of his coaching career without his mobile backup quarterback to throw in to spice things up from time to time. There's a pathway.
It's so interesting to me that two of these coaches, while maybe not necessarily on the hot seat, boy, if Big Game James and Ryan Day take L's this weekend, we could be in for a very interesting ride.
I hadn't thought about that.
We could be in for a very interesting ride.
I think Tennessee goes up there and gets them.
By the way, have you seen the contingent of Tennessee fans that are going to be filling the shoe? It's going to be a lot of orange in there, what it sounds like.
I think Tennessee, we'll continue talking about this. We'll get into this a little bit more, go through a couple of these games here as we roll along. Preston Thorne, Bill Gunner, Tyler Head, you're listening to The Early Game.
All right, let's take a look at your traffic and weather once again for your ride-in on this Thursday morning. Still got that accident with heavy delays making your way through on I-20 eastbound right there at Broad River Road. Still showing 2 left lanes blocked there. So if you're trying to get through that area, it is going to take a little while. A bit further up there. Let's see what we got working with else on I-20. Got another accident. This one is at Monticello Road right there at I-20. So off the roadway, but right there as you get on to the interstate. Still about 56 degrees here in downtown Columbia. High today is 60. Watch out for that fogs on the early game.
.35 as we roll along here on your Thursday morning. The three of us will be back together again tomorrow to do the same thing. Cut up, laugh, have a good time, get more into college football playoff discussion as we get you ready. A whole new world of college football really about to get going here as we will see the first ever 12-team college football playoff get going tomorrow night with Indiana and Notre Dame. Day weighs in on our text line, 803-404-6100. Said, I'd be surprised if anyone other than Oregon, Ohio State, or Georgia won the whole thing. But that's still 3 teams, guys. That's still, I mean, I don't know if we've ever been able to say something like that where it's 3 teams like that.
I would replace Ohio State with Texas personally. I don't think Ohio State's going very deep in this thing at all. I got them getting bounced this weekend. And that's the thing about the expanded playoff is you've invited more teams to the dance, but that doesn't suddenly mean we're going to have a bunch of new national champions. I went back and looked. In the last 10 years of the BCS era, we had 7 different teams win national championships. In the 10 years of the 4-team era, we expanded it out, allowed 2 more teams in every year, only 6 different national champions. So expanding shows it doesn't mean we're going to have new champions all of a sudden, and I don't think that's going to change with a 12-team playoff.
I don't know if I agree with you on that. Number one, it seems like, and again, it'll be interesting to be 2 or 3 years down the road. Of course, they may up this to 16 teams.
They will.
But it seems like the what you have seen this year with parity is going to continue. The transfer portal and now the NIL and just everything going on has created a sense of parity where look, we're seeing attrition from Alabama that you never saw under Nick Saban. And it's some of it's starters, some of it's backups.
I was just laughing because all of a sudden Alabama's, oh my God, I can't believe these other schools are taking our players with money. They're using money. Oh.
Welcome to the show.
They're really going to be upset. They're 5-star. Was it Kayla? Who was the kid yesterday who committed to Mississippi? Lane Kiffin. It was a 5-star wide receiver. I want to say Caleb Owens, I believe is his name.
They're using money. Oh.
But, yeah.
Kobe Prentice? No, I think he went to Baylor.
But to the
list earlier.
To the point. To the point again. Yeah. So you're getting depth pieces that Alabama used to roll in that aren't sticking around anymore. They're like, oh, this isn't worth it. Nick Saban's not here. We're not in the playoff. I'll go find somewhere else. Oh, and then
it's Caleb Odom. Yeah,
Caleb. Yeah. But to your point, yeah. All of a sudden, Alabama's like, wait a minute, he would have stuck around. Lane Kiffin's like, haha, I got a bag for you. Come on over here to Oxford, and we'll make this work. But I think you might get more teams because think about it. Oregon's been in this thing and has played for a national championship. I'm not looking at VegasInsider.com right now, but I'm guessing with Vegas, Oregon is probably the favorite at this point.
I would think so.
Slim favorite.
Yeah.
Look, can Arizona State make a run? Oh, Scattaboo, can he just run over people and get them? I don't know.
In a 4-team playoff, I think you are opened up the door for more variety because you only had to go through 2 games. Where now, if you're in Arizona State, for an SMU, you're adding more hurdles in the way where, look, anybody can beat anybody on a given day, have a good game, and those, upsets happen, in college football. We've seen plenty of them this year. But saying that SMU is going to put together 4 upset-type performances, I think is a little bit of a stretch. In Arizona State, again, they got to bye, but still, they'd have to go for their 3 games to get to that point.
If Alabama had have gotten in with Jalen Milroe, would you say the same thing about them?
Oh, I think Alabama's upside's a lot higher than some of those other teams when they're playing their best football. So I think they would still have a decent chance. I wouldn't put them as a favorite, and maybe this is just the brand of Alabama that's making me think this, but I would take Alabama going on a deeper run than I think an Arizona State or an SMU.
What about Mississippi?
Yeah, I think their upside's maybe not as high as Alabama's. Obviously, they got the talent and the good roster. I'd probably say they have a better chance than an Arizona State and SMU as well.
Here's where my SEC bias will clearly show. SEC teams are more conditioned to get up week after week for high-level competition than maybe some of these other teams are. And so Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, they're good teams. I'm not saying they're not good, but they don't have to play week after week, the high levels of competition that they will have to in the playoffs. And they may not be prepared for what it takes to do this every single week. And so, yes, that's SEC bias. I understand that, but I do think that gives you a little bit of an edge in this type of playoff system.
We'll talk a lot more about this tomorrow. Did we change your opinion? Do you guys? I felt like I might have gotten over on you a little here about. I don't know if there's such a thing as an upset this week.
You bring up a good point about the parity we've seen in college football and how the transfer portal and NIL have opened things up more than they have in the past. So that does open up the potential, but I think still going through this gauntlet of a tournament, it's still going to be the same usual suspects, more likely than not, playing for and winning the national championship.
By the way, on that Clemson game, I'm hurt. I've seen this happen. We beat Clemson. We have the bragging rights, and they find a way to beat Texas and get to the next round, and then beat Arizona State and get, like, this is the stuff you live with sometimes.
Is that SCPTSD?
This is the stuff you live with sometimes. That's why I honestly also am like, yeah, that's not an upset because I've already envisioned this happening. 803-404-6100. Let's go back to a story from yesterday. Diego Pavia gets this opportunity now to play next year. I dislike it. Preston loves it. Preston is understandably so as a player. Preston is pro player, anti-NCAA. I think, am I saying that right? Without putting words in your mouth?
That's fair.
Fair, yeah.
No, well, yeah, I'm just anti what the NCAA has attempted to do for all of these years. I'm not pro 28-year-old playing in college football. I do think there probably should be a line to that. But at the same time, if we're talking about being able to limit or restrict somebody's earning potential, you should not be able to do that.
So let me ask this. Gamecocks need linebackers next year. Bam Martin Scott's got a year of junior college eligibility under his belt. I don't know. I have no clue what his draft eligibility is. But Bam Martin Scott has played a year. Is this something that, if he's interested, he's got to be interested? Remember, Diego Pavia, as you pointed out, has really no NFL future. So he's going for Bam Martin Scott is different, but he had a sixth year. This was his sixth year. He was one of those guys, again, Pawpaw, driving the minivan around. But he came from Dodge City Community College.
Well, as of right now, the ruling only applies to Diego Pavia, so he was granted a stay for his specific example. Now, obviously, lawyers around the country are going to say, hey, that worked there. Let's see if it can work up and set a precedent. So that's where we are now.
Let's think back to the Tez Walker situation a year ago, where, again, he was out for half the season because of his double transfer, and despite the fact he didn't play at one of the schools, I think North Carolina Central maybe, where he'd been at beforehand, and obviously they ended up granting him eligibility halfway through the season. But then as time went on and more lawsuits came out, they said, hey, wait, you actually can't do this because now you're limiting people's earning potential by making them sit out, despite the fact that he transferred 2 times before. So now we have this wide open free agency because of that. So, yes, right now, through the preliminary injunction, it's only Diego Pavia. By next fall, I think this is going to apply to everyone.
Agreed.
South Carolina also picked up junior college transfer Xavier Hardy, who is expected to play on the interior of the defensive line. He had spent time at East Mississippi Community College.
JUCOs are back, baby.
I mean,
Listen, the JUCO business was falling on hard times, and now what we're going to see is college saying, hey, go to JUCO for a little while.
Somebody track down Jackie Sherrill and Bill Snyder, get them back in the game.
We're back.
We're going to go stash you at a JUCO.
Correct.
You're going to develop a little bit more, and then you're going to have 4 years of eligibility when you get here.
JUCO is back. Dodge City, where you at? Blinn Community College. What's up?
NDCC, EMCC, Last Chance U.
What was the one? Yeah, Lou and them used to go out to Kansas. Was it Dodge?
Dodge City.
They have like every
Georgia military.
It seems like every
Georgia
community
military.
college is in Kansas, right?
Yeah.
Hutchinson, Indy.
Look,
Dodge
if you got to
City.
go to junior college, we're going to punish you. We're going to send you to the middle of
Midwest.
nowhere in Mississippi,
listen,
or we're
man.
going to send you to the middle of the country where there's no fun.
Respect to everybody who made it through the JUCO gauntlet. I've never heard anything positive about those times.
803-404-6100. We'll come back. We'll put a nice bow on the Thursday episode of the early game. Bill Gunner for Mid-State Roofing, where for nearly 30 years, Larry Leitner and the family have been the leader in the roofing and waterproofing industry. And it is that history that is your assurance that their professionals will provide the proper advice, service, and results to the needs of your facility. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, they're ready to take your phone call, because if you've got a leak, you need to let Mid-State Roofing take a peek. So whether you're here in Columbia, Florence, Myrtle Beach, maybe you're in Charleston or Aiken or Augusta, and you've noticed your business has a little bit of a roofing issue, it is time for you to call Mid-State Roofing. 803-356-1919. Let them help you protect that roof with a maintenance contract today. 803-356-1919. For more information, you can visit them on the web at midstateroofing.com. Give them a phone call, 803-356-1919. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Bill Gunner for the Ecton Law Firm. Have you experienced some tax issues lately? Have you received one of those mean, nasty notices from the IRS? Well, if so, don't get stressed out. Just call John Ecton and his team. They've got a proven team dedicated to resolving your income or business tax issues for good. Now, if you've received one of these notices, time is limited, and yes, you do need to make that phone call today. It all starts with a free consultation, 803-771-9800. Again, that's 803-771-9800. Again, whether you're here in Columbia, maybe you're in Greenville, Florence, Myrtle Beach, maybe you're in Charleston or Aiken or Augusta, if you've received a notice from the IRS, do not try and navigate that maze on your own. Go to the professionals. Go to John Ecton and his team. For more information, you can visit them on the web, EctonLawFirm.com. That's ECTON lawfirm.com. Or give them a phone call today. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you, 803-771-9800. All right, one more time. We got some tickets for today's basketball game. 11:30 pregame right here, 107.5 the game. 12 o'clock tip-off, women's basketball against Charleston Southern. Let's give you – how many tickets do we have?
We have 4 pairs.
We have 4 pairs. So we're going to take callers 3, 4, 5, and 6. Callers 3, 4, 5, and 6. You can win tickets to today's basketball game against Charleston Southern. 803-404-6100. That's how you can call in right now. 803-404-6100. You can win a pair of tickets to today's women's basketball game. 11:30 pregame, 12 o'clock tip time. South Carolina takes on Charleston Southern. We'll have it for you right here on the 107.5 the game. But if you want to go, you can go. So, again, give us a phone call, and you can win tickets to today's women's basketball game against Charleston Southern. 803-404-6100 is how you can call in and win those tickets today. All right, so we kind of wrap this thing up here. We've covered a lot of ground this morning, Preston Thorne, the Diego Pavia news, also transfer portals. We didn't really get into that, but a big day yesterday for the Gamecocks, hitting the transfer portal and landing a couple different players.
Yeah, they seem to have gotten a couple of guys that they wanted. I'm not looking at his name right now, but they got the SWAC co-defensive player of the year from Grambling.
Andrew Jones.
Yep. So, and how does he spell it? Does he spell it with a U?
Spelled correct. I assume correct. I don't know what but ANDREW.
Now, wait a minute. The other Andrew Jones never played college football, so he technically has eligibility. We can't rule out this being him. Just saying.
Just saying.
There is that.
Andrew.
There is that.
Who should be a Hall of Famer, but we're not doing that right now. Anyway, yes, Andrew Jones. So that's interesting. Maybe looking for him to replace Demetrius Knight as that senior anchor in the middle of the field.
Well, you're replacing a lot of them. Debo Williams, Bam Martin Scott, I guess.
Forget about that, too. Yeah, so that to me, that was the one that stood out. I know there was a couple others.
The Gamecocks land a little bit of tight end depth. I think it was one of y'all earlier mentioned Connor Cox goes to North Carolina. The Gamecocks land Jordan Dingle from Kentucky. He will come in and be kind of a pass-catching tight end kind of player, more so maybe in the mold of a Joshua Simon. Now, they still have Michael Smith. Mike Tyler coming over from Hammond will be there. Dingle last year, for his career, has caught 43 passes, 615 yards, and 4 touchdowns over 4 seasons with the Wildcats, which, given what we know about their passing game, feels excessive for a player there. That feels like he's had a big year. But 6'4", 245 pounds. Again, it's going to be kind of in that Joshua Simon mold, but he signs with South Carolina yesterday out of the transfer portal.
Cool. Let's see what he does. I'm interested in what pieces they're trying to create. Again, we're going into a different offense, so do the tight ends play a different role, or what is the case? Whatever, it seems like they got a guy that they wanted.
Gamecocks also yesterday land a defensive tackle. Now, this is going to be interesting because Gabriel Brownlow Dindy comes from Texas A&M. He was, as a prospect, as a high school prospect, he was the number 4 interior defensive lineman overall in the country. He is 6'3", 310 pounds, went to Texas A&M. He was part of the, as I think Nick Saban labeled it, the BALT recruiting class, the $30 million recruiting class.
Sliced bread.
He was the number 11 player overall, regardless of position, in that recruiting class. He was the number 2 player out of Florida. He is now a little bit further down on that list. He's the number 10, according to 24/7 Sports, he's the number 10 overall defensive line prospect in the transfer portal. But you get a guy here who everybody looked at coming out of high school, Preston, as a massive recruit. He's listed, according to Andrew Ivins, the director of scouting. This was back in 2021. He reminded the scouting department of 24/7 Sports of Ed Oliver with the Buffalo Bills, and he's listed as a twitched-up interior pass rusher that can make things extremely difficult for opposing quarterbacks. He burst onto the national recruiting scene before his junior season when he posted elite testing numbers, 34.5-inch vertical jump, and a 4.4 short shuttle when he was then listed at 6'2", 278 pounds.
Well, Ed Oliver is definitely not 6'2". Ed Oliver's a baller, though. So if he's anything close to that, we have done something very, very well.
So a little bit of help there, but again, didn't do a whole lot at Texas A&M.
Yeah, you have to figure out what the problem was. What's the issue?
It's been a lot of fun. We will come back and we'll maybe make it more of a Christmas segment tomorrow while also discussing the college football playoff. Upsets. Is there actually upsets in the college football playoff? We'll discuss it tomorrow. You guys good with that?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
A lot of fun. Look forward to it. Y'all have a great rest of the day. Bill Gunner for the Mortgage Guru, Jacob Crowder, and the First Palmetto Bank. All right, we're wrapping up 2024. We're heading to 2025. Have you started thinking about your home? Have you thought about the interest rates? Have you seen what could be available for you in 2025? Well, if you haven't and you're thinking about moving, refinancing, maybe upgrading or downsizing, the first step to getting that information is to call Jacob Crowder, the Mortgage Guru with First Palmetto Bank, who's locally owned and operated right here in the Midlands. See what deals, what offers, what products are available to you. That way you know how much money you have available to spend. For example, right now, First Palmetto Bank and Jacob Crowder have what's called the Community Reinvestment Product. If you're thinking about moving into Richland County, or if you're in Richland County and you're looking to move around, right now you can get a 4.99% interest with a 5.075 APR on a 30-year fixed mortgage. So call the Mortgage Guru today, 803-719-1005. Tell him Bill Gunner sent you.